Tonight, because of our long agenda and our policy that we adopted, which is a hard stop policy at 9 p.m. with the exception to administrative duties, we may have to have another meeting for items on the planning board. And tonight, because some people submitted this stuff very late and our consultant hadn't had the chance to review it, Mill Street will not be appearing tonight, but because it's a public hearing, we will still hold the public hearing, we will open it, and anybody who want to make a comment about Mill Street, they can put their name on the sign-up sheet, and we'll still hear the public, or they can wait until the next meeting. It's up to you. We'll let you know the meeting when the next meeting will be. We haven't voted on the date yet. Okay. So, as I said, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our May 13th planning board meeting. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing for? You want to set it first?
You have the comments.
Okay, so y'all want to vote on the next day's meeting first?
Sure.
We looked at the calendar, I looked at the calendar, and the 29th is open. Is everybody available on the 29th? So can I get a motion the whole meeting?
I make a motion.
Okay. Yeah, or anything we can't finish tonight. Okay, so the public hearing and any and everything we can't finish tonight, other than administrative. Yes, it's gonna be here at 6:30 p.m. Okay, Mark made the motion, you second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so our next meeting will be May 29th at 6:30 here at City Hall. It'll be posted. Now, can I get a motion to open the public hearing for 117, 119, and 121 Fairview Avenue, known as the Oaks?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so Bogart's here.
Good evening, my name is Charlie Gottlieb from the law firm of White and House and use counsel for the applicant H2O Properties. Here this evening with Jen Crawford Associates, our project engineer, Walter Chatham, who is our project architect, as well as Lou Piro representing the applicant. It's been a while, a couple months since we've been before the board. We are a mixed-use project with 7 commercial spaces and now only 24 residential dwelling units, which is a reduction. Again, we were last before the planning board in February of this year, where the planning board adopted a secret negative declaration, which is a finding that the project will not result in any significant environmental impacts. We made a recent submission to your board that addressed the remaining items, coordination with DOT and some other technical engineering items. We submitted a response to comment document related to landscaping comments, engineering comments, revised site plans, revised landscaping plans, lighting plans, sewer extension permit report, a revised traffic and parking study that's been updated for our conversations with DOT, an executed lease agreement for the 9 spaces that will be in the remote lot around the corner from the project site that are identified for the commercial tenants. As well as most recently, we submitted sign off from the city's code enforcement officer and the fire marshal related to the fire access proposed on the plans. Some of the project changes, I'll note that I'm going to have Jen run them through you and identify specifically what they are. We are now down to 24 dwelling units. If you remember, originally, the project was proposed at 30 dwelling units. Project revisions, listening to residents in the neighborhood as well as planning board concerns, we've kept going down and down and down, and now we're at 24 proposed dwelling units. The types will be 13 one-bedroom dwelling units and 11 two-bedroom dwelling units. The parking remains the same. We are still providing 27 parking spaces on the project site.
Excuse me, how many one bedrooms you said? I mean, how many 2 bedrooms did you say?
11 two-bedrooms. The parking remains the same, so there are 27 parking spaces on the project site for the 24 residential units. That's 1.25 parking spaces, or 1.125 parking spaces for every residential unit, which is the largest amount of off-street parking that has been provided for really any mixed-use project of date that this board has approved. Again, I will remind the board, the city code does not require any off-street parking spaces. Despite that, we listened to the planning board, we listened to the residents, and found a way to provide an adequate number of parking spaces. The changes that Jen is gonna run through specifically relate to coordination with DOT. Making sure that DOT has enough width in their roadway on Fairview Avenue to accommodate any future changes that the DOT might do to that roadway. At this point, we've been before the planning board for, I wanna say years. The public hearing has been open for months and months and months. We would request that the planning board close the public hearing and entertain approval this evening of the project. There are minor cleanup items that are noted in part in the Judas comment memo, and which could simply be conditions of the approval. With that said, I'll hand it over to Jen to walk you through the changes.
Can I just ask you a question before we proceed with Jen? In previous, your appearances in meetings, you agreed to the 9 parking spaces at the offsite for the
Yes.
workers. Even though you have less, residents, you're still in agreement with that, right?
So quite honestly, we've never been in agreement that those 9 parking spaces are needed.
But you're,
All the traffic, all the parking assessments demonstrate that even with the 30, when we originally proposed, there was enough parking for everyone and the code doesn't require it. Now with the 24 units, there's even less of a need for off-street parking.
but it was my understanding that you agreed to that. You agreed in writing
And
to
we did
that
not reduce the number.
with
of
a 15-year, with a 15-year lease. Is that correct?
I don't believe that a term of the lease was agreed upon, so we do have the executed lease. The lease is for 10 years.
I thought the agreement was 15 years. I thought the understanding was.
If we could just,
The
let's just
agreement,
focus.
the agreement was for parking for the lifetime of the project,
Correct.
the 9 extra parking. Plus, you haven't even said anything about your commercial spaces, so how many of those do you still have? Do you
So
have-
if we could just press pause for a second and let Jen run through the plans.
Okay, we'll do that.
And then I promise we'll address every question.
Sure, thank you, Charlie. So the main, part that we adjusted based on coordination with the DOT and actually with National Grid, it was coordinating with both.
Okay, tell me which street is that?
So this is Fairview.
Okay, good, thank you.
And really it was a small tweak. We pushed this southern building further back so that in the future concept, when they may add a 3rd lane to Fairview, there will be enough space for that 3rd lane as well as the existing overhead electric line. And so we, coordinated with the DOT, they were satisfied with the adjustments that we made. What this did do is reduce the number of residential units. However, you'll see on the drawings, we are proposing the same number of off-street parking spaces for the residents on the site and the same number of partial off-street parking spaces as we presented back in January. So the number of parking spaces has not changed. All we've done is reduce the number of units.
And the new curb cuts, are they also ADA compliant?
Curb cuts?
Yeah, I mean, the rounded corners on the edge.
Yes, yes.
They are, okay.
Yes, yep. We provided additional detail on the sewer design. I know there are some small details to continue, sorting that out prior to construction. We added a new concrete, pad for trash pickup. This was a request of the DPW, so that the trash when left out would not block the sidewalk for pedestrian use.
What's the little round things?
Little
So
round.
you got 1, 2,
Oh,
it's along the
trees?
side, for the trees?
Yeah.
That's the block, movement.
Well-
Especially the one in the corner.
Vision of.
Like when people coming out of Parkwood, or is that Parkwood or is that?
No, so here's the entrance. And then
Okay.
here's the exit onto Oakwood, so there aren't any trees right at the exit.
Okay.
And we did do a site distance analysis, for those pulling out of our Oakwood or Parkwood.
Which one is Parkwood?
This is Parkwood and this is Oakwood. Yeah, so we did a site distance analysis for the pullout onto, Fairview as well, so that the trees in this area would not impede site distances.
The trees on Parkwood at Fairview, the one tree, southbound traffic, and Fairview turning onto Parkwood. As they come around the corner, what's the sight distance gonna be for that car? In case there's pedestrians crossing, kids on a bicycle, or cars coming up the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, so what we did is we made sure that there were no trees within the site distance on Fairview. You're saying from Fairview turning into.
When you, yes, when you turn into Parkwood, you're gonna have a tree there. Is that tree gonna obstruct the traffic to complete that turn onto Parkwood?
No.
Parkwood, very small. Well, it's green.
And then.
Yeah, they're set back too
It's-
far.
it's
behind the
Shouldn't have
side.
them.
It doesn't look that way, that's why, you know,
It's further.
it looks like it's right on the corner.
They're
Yeah.
real far back compared to normal street trees.
And then the last update, on the remote site, I know there were concerns about the lighting from the bollards. We adjusted ag recommendation to use pole mounted lights for the parking lot to improve safety at that lot. I would say that's, pretty much it. We updated the traffic and water wastewater report to reflect the smaller number of units, but again, keeping the same number of parking spaces that we had agreed to at the negative back in January.
How many commercial, spaces are in there?
There are 9 commercial spaces at the offsite lot and
No.
only 7
How many
employees.
commercial for
Yeah, for, in the buildings, how many commercial businesses will you have in the,
We had budgeted for not, 7 employees. It's not defined by number of businesses, it's defined by number
it's
of,
one business, you're saying, with 7 employees?
No, so the way commercial spaces work is prior to receiving a tenant, you have just a blanket space for commercial uses. Those commercial uses could potentially be broken up into 7 individual satellite offices.
Okay, so you're saying your blanket space can be broken up into 7, a maximum of 7 individual.
Correct, and again, we're not talking about retail stores, we're not talking
No, I
about.
understand.
They're
Okay,
singular offices.
So now that 7 individual office with how many?
it'd be one office with 7 employees or 7 individual. But we're budgeting for 7 people working in that
Okay, so
space,
7 additional people.
which was the same in January.
Yep.
And so those are the changes, relatively small, just trying to make.
So we've asked that you bring us, it was agreed upon when we gave you the secret, but it's.
So there was never a term, and so the way this, the EAF part 3, it's for the life of the project. And the idea was, we didn't do. The idea was a lease or easement, they're doing a lease, not an easement, but we allowed both in the seeker. It said that there must be parking at 23 Oakwood. The lease of such spaces will be required for the life of the project, and the application will have to return to the planning board for site plan amendment approval if such spaces are no longer available.
If I may.
Yeah, please.
I'm Lou Piro, I'm the developer. Thank you for your time tonight. Hopefully we can make some progress, and I think I have an answer on the parking spaces. Crystal and I have been in very intense negotiations on the lease, and I think we've come to a fair lease. It's a 10-year lease. There is additional parking much nearer my project on Parkwood Boulevard. It's owned, and the owner wouldn't sell it to me.
Yeah, no, the one in the back, right?
It's right contiguous to my parcel. He's my cousin. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that over time, those spaces will become available. So what I'd like to have is an ability to take those 9 commercial spaces, there'll always be 9, but have them closer to the building.
It's still
So-
off the street.
It's still off street. And so that's why I wanted a 10-year lease, and Chris wanted a 10-year lease.
But to be clear, there will, even if you switch lots, you will have to come back.
Come back here to swap out those 9 spaces.
Relocate.
Yes.
Yeah, and it would just be a simple site.
Yep. Is that, any questions on that?
And another added layer, and I understand the city and the planning board is concerned about the parking spaces, what we've been talking about for months and months and months. Is this board, the most secure this board can make sure that those parking spaces are tied to the project. Is not by the lease, but it's putting it in your approval resolution and putting a note on the plans. Once you do that, that ties those 9 parking spaces to the project for its existence.
Oh, thank you, but we already know that. We're doing, thank you, whatever you say.
And if we get to the end of,
The issue is that you're coming here today and you're coming here with a change
no,
that we didn't anticipate.
what change?
The change was supposed to be the 9 spaces.
Which we have.
For the project, that's the way I understood it, I mean,
And
about anybody else didn't.
so if we don't have access to that other lot, then we will acquire the 9 spaces. And that's in the lease. We would simply buy those 9 spaces.
From her,
Yes,
from Chris.
yeah, and
No,
that's,
he said
that's
from the lot
guaranteed in the
next
lease.
door to him.
And it'll be the next door just option, there is an option, there's a right of first refusal and a purchase option in the lease, is what they're trying to say, and that is in there.
So it's designed to be a lifetime tie, the 9 spaces tied to the project for lifetime of the project. If it's not the rent of those spaces, we would acquire those spaces or come back to the planning board with 9 better spaces.
It's up to this, it's up to you, I mean,
And make sure that they do that.
I mean, so far that there will be a condition, a whereas, and a plat which is enforceable by case law. And in fact, the way I have it drafted, it goes a little further and says that, commercial operations will cease if those are not operations.
And who will be
The
enforcement?
code enforcement officer would have to issue an NOV in those violation. However, if you would like a longer lease, I mean, they have, it's on.
Well, we had a lifetime, then, you know,
But your seeker does require a life of the project, it's up to the planning board to determine whether or not you think the lease is for the life.
Well, they're committing not necessarily to the lease, but they're committing to having the spaces.
Lease or purchase.
Right.
It would be one or the other.
what do you think?
Can you use?
They will have the option for life of even though we didn't actually send it, but it's the same, but it's.
I mean, you originally asked for an easement, which is even more permanent, you actually asked them to purchase it first, right? Because easement is land ownership rights, even if it's not full land ownership. So you actually asked for an easement.
No, but you feel like with that language in the resolution and as part of the approval process, that's binding now.
Case law is very clear that, like you have a case, it's O'Brien, they charge, like O'Brien v something. Specifically says plat notes are subject to plat should recycling as well. That notes on a plat are enforceable by both the building department and that case of law. So the case law is on the side of if you put it something. And then from a building department position, everything in a resolution is enforceable by the building department.
Because you do understand the problem, it takes. You know, it lessens the impact that your building is gonna have on that neighborhood. It's already impacted, we're just gonna do. And so,
Well, are we putting forth a resolution to,
maybe close the public hearing. Oh, after
can you put it?
after we hear
Yeah.
comments, we'll think about it after we hear comments from them,
Okay,
you know.
Okay.
But that's what we're moving for today, if we don't get any outlandish comments that you have to address.
Jen, on a DOT requirements, perspective requirements for future development, you had to move something to the back?
No, so if you remember, and maybe I should have brought the other drawings to compare. This building edge was, a few feet in.
it was 3 or 4 feet further.
Yeah.
We should push it back.
Push it back into the lot,
Correct. You
Yeah,
gave
so
more
it really didn't
space.
change, it just like cut off.
okay, and it has no effect on the building or the parking or whatever.
No, although we reduced the number of units, we kept the parking. I know it's important to you guys, so we reversed.
It's important to the community,
Yes,
you know, not just us, the whole community.
Yep.
Okay, so, I'm taking questions from the public for the boulevard. Anybody here that would have a question? I'm thinking public comments. Thank you. Any any comments from the public?
It is actually just a question. I remember from a previous meeting on this project that there was a distance between the building and the auxiliary parking, and I'm sorry if I missed it while I was out there.
Right.
Is that distance in code, and what is that number? Again,
So the, the CEO basically, allowed it as a part of the project, even though it's on a separate lot, so. From a zoning perspective, the determination was that this was met the zoning requirements, I'm blanking on exact wording, so it was many months ago. But we do have a determination from Craig that is allowed what it is to be zoning. Okay, good question.
Yeah. Any more questions on the boulevards outside there? I guess not, I'm not.
Well, we really couldn't hear what was going on to answer questions.
Say.
You can't hear to answer questions.
Oh. Okay.
In other words, can everybody please speak up? That's what she's saying.
Yeah, because we don't even know what's going on.
I thought I was yelling.
Just know that they're planning to build something between Fairview, Oakwood, or Parkwood, or wherever, that's all we heard. But is that affordable?
Right. No,
So why they planning it? So, I mean, we already got enough things that we can afford, we need to focus on things that we can.
unfortunately, they've been in front of us for over a year now. 2 years, yeah, it's gonna almost, if it goes this year, it'll be 3 years. So it's been a project that started some time ago.
I mean, we still got half of the fall that's being half built. People can't afford to live in there, then they're gonna build something else.
Yeah, they're gonna build it. Do you know where Parkwood and Oakwood? Well,
That's in between where Valero and the National.
Yes. Okay, so you remember with the, what is it, what was that dentist called?
Nothing but.
Yeah.
Nothing but the two. Right, they're tearing down that area and they're building a 24 apartment building there.
That
Parking.
that nobody can afford to live in. Which we already got falls and things like that. There's no other affordable housing places. Everybody wants to build more expensive things.
I hear you. But,
Yeah,
unfortunately for that comment, they've been in front of us for almost 2 years now, and, it would have been nice.
we're planning for, whoever planning that, y'all hear what the people saying, we need affordable housing. We can't afford 16 to 1,200, and we only got one income, 2 to 3 kids. You know, you already working 2 jobs to afford the rent as it is. 3 jobs. Yeah. Everybody got time to breathe, because they got.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your comment. Anyone else want to make a comment?
I am,
Oh, you know what? We didn't get your name. You want to give it?
My name, the name of God.
I'm David Kessler, I'm developing a hotel in
You're not up there.
Seventh and we are, I would be creating a significant number of new jobs. And there's just an undersupply of apartments in town. And these apartments will be great housing for our employees and
What are you doing?
supporting the project.
Oh, you're supporting the project because you're building a hotel.
And
And you're saying the
we need
people that work in your hotel
exactly.
will be able to afford these apartments.
You must have a lot of money to pay down.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me know, when I'm the application right now.
There's nowhere for these people to live.
Any more comments from the public?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes.
I'm
Walter, say your name.
And I'd like to address Michaela.
No, Walter, make it.
I'd like to address her comment.
Yes.
I've read 25 years on this topic, and if you imagine you only have a limited supply of anything, it drives prices up.
So the only way that I have ever read that a community can get affordable housing is to essentially create an oversupply of housing and create the possibility that all of a sudden rents come down. That's just economics.
That ain't gonna work.
That's all I have
That
to
ain't
say.
gonna work. Why you gonna build something and make it 1,600 and nobody rent it, and then you wanna bring the rent back?
And how long
Make it make
people
sense.
be homeless while
Make
they're
it
waiting
make sense.
for the economy to change?
Right,
Like,
make
how they
sense.
gonna be homeless?
Give them another 2 years to figure that out, but something. And nobody can afford the rent they want,
Thank you.
or they can build something like that.
Okay, because they have been in front of us now for 2 years. I apologize, but they have been in front of us a long time. And we've had public hearings on this for quite a while. So I want to get a motion just to. There's no one here. Of the original group that came to, voice their opinions, the ones that live on the area. So, can I get a motion to close the public hearing for the vote? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so then, your public hearing is closed.
Thank you. And is there a resolution that's prepared we
Not
can
yet.
discuss?
No, we're not gonna.
Will the planning board, New York Public Officers Law requires that if there's a decisional document to be considered, if that would be forwarded to made public, so it could be commented on at the next meeting, which I understand would be May 29th.
You wanna come? Yeah.
If that is possible to get a copy of the resolution before that meeting. would be-
I'm not gonna guarantee it, but, we'll let you know, okay? That's your mind. This new information may generate more comments, so should I leave it open for another week? Should I leave a week on?
We bought it to the public
Okay, so
hearing.
we're gonna close the public hearing and we'll let you know how we move on.
Okay, so you'll let us know when we'll be placed on the agenda for a
Yes,
decision?
would you be available on the 29th?
We will be available when we could be here tomorrow.
More than likely, it'll be the 29th. If not the 29th, it'll be in June, okay?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, can I get a motion to open the public hearing for Mill Street lots?
I make a motion.
Second, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, do we have any questions about Mill Street? Planning board, we have any questions?
They have submitted updated plans and they've addressed the majority of the comments. The outstanding items are the flood analysis that was submitted late. We got back late, so we haven't had a chance to review that yet. That'll be available by the 29th.
Okay.
Review.
All right, so you'll. Any comments from the public? Is Mill Street here? No, they sent an email that you. Any comments from the public for Mill Street? Do I need to sign up sheet? Is everybody gonna? Any public comments? Well, do we have quite a few? Okay, so I'm not gonna use a sign up sheet, but just. Use those your hands. But you have an understanding that Mill Street will be at our May 29th meeting. And you can make those comments at that time.
I'll be here for that too.
So
I
you
can
wanna
make
them
this comment.
twice?
I'll make additional comments. I'm a talker.
What's your name, sir?
Philip Lopez, I'm a 5th Ward resident. I work in the city to support families, youth, and citizens. We're trying to build better lives here in Hudson. I'm here because I support the Mill Street lofts as a fundamentally necessary solution. Through work and my own personal experience, I see how difficult it is for people to remain in Hudson, even when they work here, grew up here, or trying to raise children here. They're being priced out of their own future. This project offers affordable housing units, which is a lifeline for working families, for seniors, and for young people who desperately want to stay and contribute to their hometowns, and people I work with every day, but currently see little to no realistic avenue to do so. Affordability ensures that people who already belong to the fabric of Hudson don't get pushed out. It may be easy for the more affluent citizens around the city to pretend that nothing is wrong. They aren't being affected by homelessness and displacement, but their neighbors are. And somewhere along the way, it seems there was a partially collective conclusion to stop nurturing neighborhood. Keyword neighborhood. I work with countless families who used to reside within the city for generations who have been pushed out in recent years due to rising costs and lack of affordable housing options. If we choose to consistently base our decisions for the city around post-hard-ass caricature, then we're not creating a community that promotes inclusivity, but fostering an environment of exclusivity. I understand the litany of concerns and I encourage accountability on all fronts, but we can't keep kicking the can down the road and waiting for the perfect solution, because children and families suffering from homelessness and displacement today do not have time for the heartfelt hypotheticals of tomorrow. The countless children, families, and individuals suffering from homelessness in our city also do not have time for the quick Band-Aid solutions, no matter how far removed you are from the work. If you are a resident of Hudson, there's no doubt you've seen a visible street homelessness, specifically since the recent closure of the warming center following the end of cold weather months. Rejecting this project sends a loud message that affordability and equity are not priorities. That's not the Hudson I believe in, and that is not the Hudson that welcomed me with open arms when I began working here nearly a decade ago to help serve the children and families that need it most. Once again, I'm in full and unwavering support of this project. Let's move forward responsibly. Thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
now, I didn't get that in writing.
I can send it.
Please, you
Absolutely.
have to send your comments in writing. What you do is you send it, well, you can send it to me and I'll send it, or send it to Linda Fennell, the secretary, and she'll upload it in our portal. And then it'll be there for everyone to see,
Okay,
okay?
perfect.
But that comment I didn't see, so you please submit these comments in writing.
Absolutely, 29.
Okay, gotcha. Who's next? Did you?
I just want to see the floor since we've been here, we will be here, we've spoken before, I just want to make sure anyone, there's a lot of newcomers, so if anyone else wants to speak beforehand. Go ahead.
You're next. You're next.
Dave Gilbert.
Kate?
And
Kate Gilbert.
I reviewed the plans, the updated plans submitted on the 28th, and I haven't seen any recognition of the parking limitations yet in that plan. So I'm here specifically to ask about parking and if there's any upcoming revisions, how that's been discussed. I personally don't really see the logic behind the parking ratio proposed here, that there's approximately 50 spaces for a building that's likely to house at least 100 adults. Hudson is not a high density urban environment with a public transit system. It's a small town with a luxury focused downtown where most people have to travel outside of the city for their day-to-day necessities and for their work. I think lack of personal transportation is a real limit to opportunity and to quality of life here. Especially on Mill Street, which is down a very steep hill that has a real accessibility barrier for parents and infants, elderly, anyone with limited mobility. Not to mention, Mill Street has no sidewalks connecting it to town. And I just want to reiterate that Mill Street itself, the geography of that street leaves no room to get this wrong. Mill Street is 20 feet wide, only 17 at its narrowest pinch point, and because of the width, there are 0 legal parking spaces on the street. The street concludes with Charles Williams Park, which has an event pavilion, but strangely also has 0 designated parking spaces. As it turns out, no parking signs are not effective when there's nowhere else to park. So you'll see Mill Street lined with cars on one side on ordinary days and on both sides whenever somebody has a birthday party. So parking is already a boondoggle down there. There's no clear fix. And if the developer is even a little bit wrong in estimating the residents' parking needs, there's no alternative. If a resident gets home from work and the lot is full, are they gonna park at the meatball factory and walk their groceries a quarter mile to home? Is that where their mom's gonna park when they visit? So I'm just concerned what kind of quality of life and neighbor relationships that would set up residents of the building for. I don't think this should be a controversial point. There's no legal street parking, therefore the developer needs to adequately provide parking within their own lot lines. Parking spaces should be assigned, not random, so you don't come home from work and there's nowhere for you to park. Guest parking needs to be provided as well. The parking ratio should match suburban mixed income developments in the area, closer to 1 per unit. And again, just a reminder, there's no room on the street to get this wrong. Lastly, I understand this was intended to be the last public hearing on the project. I believe the residents of the city have raised serious issues and brought critical missing information to the planning board multiple times throughout the process. And some of our concerns, such as the parking issue, have yet to be addressed. Therefore, I don't believe it's appropriate to close the public hearing with so many outstanding issues unresolved.
Swing across. I support the Mill Street project because it's keeping with the covenant of the city, right? For decades, the city said, y'all go on to your worst, whether it be the waterfront, but it was all pimply messed up, whether it be the high-rise property, even Mill Street. You folks go to our worst parts. That's where you go, right? And we went. And we built some successful things. Even down there. Y'all remember Scott's, that's Miss Scott used to live down there. Dick Donovan, we voted twice to give him his property back, right? We try to do park, we try to do all these things. And then we just want some more of our neighbors to be able to live there and go down there with us. People who need help, right? People who understand the plight of this city and what's going on. But y'all can come too, there's enough room for y'all too. We need housing. We're facing extinction.
Affordable housing.
Talk about it. Because some of us can't afford regular housing, right?
Exactly.
But many people can't. So we're just asking you to keep the covenant. Thank you.
No problem. Who's next? Ma'am, from Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Kaya Wyman. I'm a business owner and
Carla,
nonprofit.
who?
Kaya Wyman, K-A-Y-N, W-E-I-T-M-A-N. I'm one of the leaders of Kite's Nest. As you know, we are down in that neighborhood, on Front Street and Dock. And, many of our young people who come to Kite's Nest live or have lived within walking distance of our site. And many of them are also getting pushed out of that neighborhood and finding it very difficult to find ways to get into the city of Hudson or into the neighborhoods where they have their communities, where resources are, where youth programs are. And I am in full support of Mill Street project as an essential resource in a neighborhood and in a community that is no longer providing adequate housing for our families and young people. And for young people growing up here and wanting to stay in their communities, there are very limited options. And this is the bare bones. We need this much housing and more affordable housing. So as much as possible that you can support this, I urge you to.
Okay, the back. If you can send those comments in writing, it will be well appreciated, you know. It's just that we get comments. And we need to get a diverse of comments, okay? So right now I'm hearing something different from what I've been hearing. So we need to submit the comments, write them out. We put them on the webpage so everybody can see them, because there are people that is not here. The number of people don't represent all of Hudson, not even half. But maybe they'll look on the planning board and see, okay? So who's next?
So my name is Jack, I live on Mill Street, and I did send a letter, I sent it today, so I don't
Yes.
expect the read, but it's
You
in the
got
records.
a brand new house.
Yeah. So, just for the engineer, I took some pictures from the rainfall last week, just for your reference to see what the sewer system, how the sewer system responds to 24 hours of rain. I think that this project deserves, better, city investment to make it more suitable for the tenants that are being invited to live in these buildings. Specifically the sewer system, the parking, and pedestrian access to the city. It's a long steep hill. If you go up the Dugway, you have to sort of switch back to get into town. If you go up Second Street, it's a not very well paved street with one light and no sidewalk, and sometimes there's 18-wheelers coming down to go to Harney and Sons or the Kraut Factory or whatever. So I think that there are investments that the city is gonna need to make in order for this project to be an inviting place for new residents. And so that was what my letter was about, in addition to the flooding photos, just for your information. And I guess I just want to say, you know, as a personal statement, I support affordable housing in the city, support the development and building of new housing in the city, support affordable housing and development of affordable housing on that site. I just think that it is too great, it's too large for the city infrastructure around it. So we need to find the right size of those things, and if it's possible to condition the site plan on those kinds of infrastructure improvements, that's what I'd like to see happen. I saw the board reviewing the previous apartment complex and thinking about how to attach parking to a project, right? For the lifetime of the project, there are amenities that need to follow it. And I think we're in that situation here too, on the subject of parking and pedestrian access.
Talking about parking, we talking about house. Why parking on Middle Street?
Ma'am.
To live in the building, to park your car in the building, yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Now, your house is the tall house, the black one. Do you get flooding?
We live, so all the houses on Mill Street right now are on the north side of the street,
Right.
and the floodwaters move through the south side of the street, which is
Okay.
where the parcel will be.
Okay.
Yeah. So the
That's
ground,
right.
yeah, the ground is wet all around there, because
Yes.
it's like clay and it's low, but the water moves through the south side.
We don't have
Yeah.
a basement, our neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
And every house that has a basement on the street, those basements flood, and most of those houses.
No, I was,
Not close.
we were doing some of our own research and we wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, so
So we're the two-family house in the
Right.
middle of the street.
Mhm.
everything to
You're
the
right
end,
on that incline.
yeah, everything to the end of the block is on a slab, everything to the intersection has a
And
basement.
it's back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Mill Street? Any comments over there? Lloyd?
You know who might be able to shed some light on this? I think if you spoke to Rob Perry and got his input in terms of the infrastructure and the ability to support something like this, I think that the planning board would be well advised to consult the DPW, the superintendent. So I think he could shed some light on this.
That's why we have.
We reached out.
That's what he
Yeah,
does.
you're responsible.
All projects require approval, so he reaches and talks about everything.
And he's the, and Christian is the planning board consultant.
So there you go.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
He's reviewing the sewer and the stormwater reports.
Nathan?
Nick's office, third ward. I would just like to speak briefly also in support of the project. And urge the planning board to take the considerations of neighbors, people who have ideas that they want to see it change, they want to see it made better, they want to see all the improvements, conditions be put in, make it the best project fit in there as possible. And I would urge you to ignore, if you can, things that are coming from people who have other interests, especially people who are running for office in the coming elections. When people who are running for elections are putting in opinions to the planning board about what they think should happen, I think that they're doing that for the reelection. They're not doing it for the need of housing, or the need of the people who want to move into those places. And so, you know, weigh the important things that the community actually needs: housing, needs of the neighbors, conditions, not people looking for elected office. Thank you.
Linda?
I am running for re-election, but no one's running against me.
Okay.
I hope that's okay. Please, run against me, I'm anxious for it's a competition.
In other words, you.
So I've been coming to these meetings for, I don't know, more, I think 2+ years. I'm very excited to see all this interest in this project. I live in the 4th Ward, I'm a 4th Ward supervisor, I know Mill Street, I know the area. My concern is, as the engineers brought up, the issue about water and flooding. If you want to reduce the project in half, it's possible that it could be maybe a very good project, but I think the reality is that the size just doesn't fit what that space allows to happen. I also think that the issue about that parkland and how that was all constructed and the mayor's conversation with the school board, which was never a public conversation, could have actually helped make the project more of a conversation in the beginning rather than at this point. Because this was deeded land, had to be parked forever, or ball field, green space, or however you want to define it. So I think that is a real problem in terms of even beginning this project where we rushed into something that the community really was without any information about, or having a public hearing about whether this was even possible. I think it's a really, yes, we need housing. Every community in America needs housing. We haven't built it for many decades. That's not just Hudson's problem. I mean, many people have been displaced in America. It's everywhere. It's all over. We're not alone. I think Greenport has an option to really help us. And I think it would behoove our community actually to have a big discussion with Greenport to see how can we, as a community, work together to create more housing. Because the reality is grocery stores, all the services are located away from Hudson. People have to travel to get there. And that's a reality of where we are in Hudson. Unfortunately, it can't sustain all the things that we think we had hoped we could have, like a grocery store. We're still going to Greenport to get that. So the people on Mill Street who don't have cars are gonna struggle to get those services.
Right? Okay. Okay, guys, Linda,
Yes,
please.
well,
Don't just go, please. Okay, just give her a chance to speak. Everybody, okay, we have an orderly.
Since we have another public hearing, I'll continue to keep thinking and talking about what the possibilities are. Really am concerned and hopeful that the engineer is going to weigh in on this project, that the water that they create actually stays on their property and does not go into the neighborhood and other buildings. And I think that is a big discussion that needs to be really under consideration. So we're counting on the engineer. Thank you.
How about us?
And,
Okay.
and where is everybody?
No, we jumped back.
I thought we had a bigger planning board. How come?
A few were sick and a few didn't show up, so.
You know, and I hope this project gets the same scrutiny that Colorusso has been given.
Thank you.
Repeat that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak? We're gonna take the mayor.
Yeah, I just want to address, because I was mentioned, there was nothing that was done behind closed doors. There, all the conversations around park alienation and the reverter clause, all happened at the school board and were recorded. The original clause was that if anything is to be done with this property that is outside of the park, then the school board would have to approve it. The school board met, they met in public, and approved it. None of that was done behind closed doors. Sometimes elected officials say things without doing any research, and I just want to clarify that this did happen in a public meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, sir.
My name is Peter Spear. I am running for office. Do what you will with my comments. I live on Robinson Street, which is just up the hill from Mill Street. yeah, I have a relationship with that space. My daughter's birthday has been in that pavilion. I've tried to sled on that hill successfully at the park. And I'm here to, speak in support of the city's affordable housing plan, because it had robust community engagement. I talked to 275 of our neighbors to identify the priorities that we would need in housing, and it focused on what they call gentle density and scattered site. And I've advocated for community engagement since 2018, just as a private citizen, wanting the city to make stronger decisions together. At some point, the city abandoned the goals of that plan, and the scale of the project ballooned. And I think the scale of the project asks too much of our neighbors at Mill Street, and they are sort of shouldering an unfair share of the burden of our housing need. And I would encourage the planning board to return to that plan and try to find a way to deliver housing that works for everybody, including our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
But everything houses on Mill Street, one day Habitat for Humanity, so why y'all don't want nobody down there? With the housing project, how come they don't want nobody down there when they got help, when they was down and out, or bad on luck, or whatever their situation may have been, and they got help with building the house? And now that they trying to build affordable housing, they talking about parking, that you can't come home from work and park in front of your house. What about everybody on Warren Street, Columbia Street that come home from work and can't park in front of their house? There's parking problems on every block. But that makes no sense that they got help with building a house and then they don't wanna help other people out when they got help. Make it make sense.
If you can somehow send us that in writing.
Ma'am, and all these people should be recorded and talk with a microphone.
They are recorded, but.
So then you want.
No, but some, in the minutes, it's not gonna give you a whole speech. It's gonna say that you got it and spoken, it's not gonna give you a whole speech.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, they got. They got.
Hi, Teresa, it's Alan Weaver. How are you?
Hey.
The problem with Mill Street is it's a lousy location to build 70 units, whether it's low income, affordable, high end. 70 units on a dead end road, one access road is a bad idea. Hudson needs more housing. Hudson needs housing in all price points. But Mill Street is just a horrible location for it. Okay, that's why.
Thank you. Justin?
I'm Justin Weaver, no relation. If the scope of the project has balloons, which I don't think it has, but if it has in any kind of increment, I would say that it has balloons because gentrification has balloons in Hudson. I have been trying to pay attention to both sides and stay fair, but I want to comment on people wanting to save the bat population. Apparently, part of the reason that some folks don't want housing built down there is to save our bats, our flying bats. I prefer to focus on trying to house human beings, not that I have a problem with bats or any animals, I love everything. But I think our people come first, and they should come first. As far as that being a horrible location, as you said, anybody who is desperate for housing don't care. They want housing, they need housing, they're not gonna turn their nose up
Yes.
because it's a bad location. I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah, so build it.
Where? Tell us where. Tell us where. Yeah, and you're know-it-all, Mr. Alan Weaver, so why don't you tell us where to build it? Well, you certainly do, the smug, look at his face. Anyway, I was still speaking, thank you very much. Those are
are my opinions and I appreciate everyone else's. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's terrible. I see someone who's-
Okay, guys, let's not get.
This is a public meeting, please be respectful.
Okay, stop talking over there so we can call the next person, please. Hello. Okay. Right.
Good evening, my name is Kai Payton. I am a resident of Hudson, have been for almost 50 years, come July. I also work in housing. I have been working in houses since 2017. Since before COVID hit, I have only housed 5 families in brand new apartments. That means when they came to the top of the Section 8 list,
Hi, okay.
no, I mean, everybody can hear, and then that means you guys you gotta record it, because I'm not writing no.
Go ahead with it.
But what I'm saying is.
That's right.
That 5 families. COVID hit 5 years ago. And if the person was not already in a unit when they came to the top of the list, they had 4 months to find an apartment, and then what happened? They went to the bottom of the list. And the list continues to grow. We have a new president that's cutting things every which way you turn. I have seniors calling, crying, because their little $900,000 check, it can't pay their rent even with their Section 8 because their landlord wants to raise the rent $300 a pop. It's ridiculous. So what? Mill Street might not be level ground, but nobody is arguing about building these lofts. Y'all finding a way to be able to build these lofts. The main problem only seems to be parking. If you got enough money to pay $2,000, $2,500 for an apartment, then you can pay for a parking garage somewhere else. We need housing. It's ridiculous. I left Hudson in 2008 when I got married. When I returned in 2015, I was homeless for 3 years, having to sleep on somebody else's couch and worked in housing and couldn't find an apartment. Enough with the excuses. As somebody who works in a real estate agency, you're a real estate agent. Give some ideas on where we can build it at, instead of saying, no, we can't build it. It's ridiculous, and there has to be some type of change. It has to be. You got these new apartments here, and then what you're doing, you're still congested. I live on 5th Street. I'm handicapped, and I have to fight to find somewhere to park. Thank God I do have a handicapped parking spot, because I might have to park in front of the library, which is still 3 blocks away. So it defeats the purpose if I'm having a bad day. But we need to find something else to argue about than fucking parking. Excuse my language.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wants to speak? Because we wanna, they're coming on the 29th. You're all invited to come to the public hearing on the 29th. And voice your opinions again. You're also invited to send in any kind of communication that you would like, letters or against, whatever you think. I really wanted to move this on, so is there anybody else that wants to speak that had not spoken? Any public comments? Okay, so we're going, can I get a motion to continue the public hearing for Mill Street until the 29th?
I made a motion.
May 29th.
At 6:30.
At 6:30 PM here in City Hall.
I make a motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so the public hearing for Mill Street is gonna be moved.
I'm just wondering, is the 29th, like, will there be a June meeting on the normal Tuesday? And this is an extra meeting?
Yeah, this is an extra meeting for anything we can't finish tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Thank you for that. Who's next on me? Okay, now we're going to old business. And that's gonna be. Oh, no, 431 Union Street, that's the chickens. Chickens. I'm gonna take a 5-minute, break. I'm sorry. No problem.
I'll cut the audio.
Ready? Yeah, when you're ready.
We're on.
Okay, I want to call a meeting to order. Hello.
Makes candy or something.
I have this. Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. And now we're going to hear, 431 Union Street. Hello, how are you?
Good. I'm Lionel, I'm applying to keep 5 hens at 431 Union Street.
And these are hens you're bringing from someplace else?
Yes,
They're Delphins, how old?
the 2 of them are 2 years old and 3 of them are 3 years old. This is our second time before the board. I did send an addendum, which I think answered your concerns last time. So.
Did any members of the board have questions for this applicant?
I seen the new drawing, it would look fine, comes to work.
Give the second application, since the law
Yes.
is adopted.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
So legally, guys, because it's actually a special permit, you still need to hold a public hearing, it is required by your zoning code. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, a public hearing like that for 5 hens. Not 70 apartments.
it's not anything. We come on this one, so I get a motion to hold a public hearing.
Yeah.
What's start the public hearing, would you like to come on the 29th?
Yeah, put them on there, yeah.
Okay.
29th?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
That's very good.
what do you think? How many things you have on the agenda?
I didn't do time.
Okay, so, can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion to hold a public hearing for 431 Union Street. On that,
Yeah, second.
First.
Oh, Randall, sorry.
all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we'll see you in the morning.
Okay, so
Here at 6:30.
Yeah,
6:30.
yes,
that's it. There's nothing else I need to do.
we can't think of it right now. If we do,
Okay.
we'll send it out. We'll send you a letter.
Okay, thank you so much.
What denomination are these chickens?
They're Episcopalians.
Yeah, brother, first ward neighbor, the county corner away from this, just want to tell her to state that there's absolutely no issue from a neighbor perspective.
It's not a public hearing, you come back.
I understand, I'm simply, I understand that. I'm just saying that there is absolutely no issue with somebody having iPads.
You can come back on the 29th. Okay, thank you.
We support the chickens.
Yeah, but this is not public hearing, okay, so please come back on the 29th and do the same thing. It's just fair that everybody respect everybody's meeting, come to their meeting, you know what I want. Okay. So that's it for that one. Okay, the next thing on our old business is 10-12 Warren Street, are you here?
We're here.
Yeah. The owner of this project.
Ben Rinsler.
Yeah, that is.
Good evening, Charlie Gottlieb, appointment officer in Hannah, land use counsel for the applicant, which Madison Property Management, and Ben Rinsler. Here this evening again with Jeff Crawford.
So you're the attorney?
Yes, three amigos. We were here a while ago, for a hotel development at 10-12 Warren Street. It's in the CC zoning district. It's a renovation of an existing building that used to be a daycare facility. Now it's proposed to be a 27-room hotel. We hope this evening we can obtain any questions or comments. We'd like to commence the secret process, as well as start the public hearing. We have submitted revised site plans, of comment response memo, based on Barton and Judas' most recent comments, as well as the sewer extension permit and engineering report. A few things to highlight and why we haven't been back in a while. One is we started after our last planning board meeting, the consultation process with the State Historic Preservation Office. So we most recently resubmitted to SHPO. They wanted a mapping of some shovel testing that was done when we completed our phase 1A and 1B archaeological report. So that is still ongoing. I imagine we will hear back from SHPO quite soon. We've retained Beth Selig from Hudson Cultural Services, who is dealing with SHPO and helping us in that regard.
You understand that secret control is until the board receives the phase 1A and the final comments from SHPO.
Yeah, we just wanted to commence the secret process.
Oh,
Start the.
They've already declared the.
yeah, it's already classified as unlisted, it's already been circulated to county, and it's already been circulated as a action.
Okay, so it's already been coordinated. I just wanted to.
Coordination unlisted, yeah.
I think that was when they first came.
So there really is, we have the most recent comment memo. Jen is gonna run through the plan. And one thing I had asked Jen to present to this board this evening was what's going on the roof of the building. Because there does appear to be some confusion there. So again, it's a 27 room hotel. There is a question as to whether or not we meet the height requirements for the CC zoning district, which is 45 feet. We are after this going to seek an opinion from the code enforcement officer as to his proper interpretation of the code and the height requirements.
You get that in writing?
Yes. So we're gonna meet with Craig, I'm gonna request it in writing, and that's something we will provide to the planning.
So I thought the addition was gonna be the same size as the building in front.
So I'm gonna have Jen's
Yeah.
explain it to you, cause it's nothing you wanna hear from the attorney, I can promise you that.
So, if this is a elevation, you've never.
And what street is that? Is that Warren Street we're looking at?
This is Warren Street, so
Yeah.
this is the side view, this is Warren Street, and then this is the alley. It's an alley,
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I've been in that neighborhood a long time and I never knew that alley was that big. But you said it's 8 feet.
Oh, it's bigger.
12 feet wide. I never knew that.
You know, but the alley or the walkway in between the church?
Yeah, well, it's the walkway between the church.
Yes, you're talking about something
I
different.
never
Yeah.
knew that was that.
Gotcha.
You know, I looked, it didn't look like people could fit back there. And that's where you're building, right? Those steps are coming in that walkway, right?
This, can you show me?
Is that the walkway that steps are coming?
Yeah, that's on the side of the building.
Yeah, that's looking at, you're looking down the hallway.
So, well, let's focus on the height thing, and then we can look at the
Okay.
site plan, so. Alright, so this. Here we go, right here, this here is the existing roof, right, there's Orange Street. This is where the proposed roof would be, so essentially at the same height, we're not adding a story. What we are adding are the, this is where the stairwells access the roof.
Okay.
And then this is just basically the mechanical room for the elevator. We revised it since the last submission, so there is not an elevator stop at the top. It's just, as you see on many other buildings in Hudson and on Orange Street, you have mechanicals for the elevator. And then that sticks up kind of similar to how like a rooftop unit for a building wouldn't be relevant to the height.
And that's the discrepancy, whether that counts as elevation
Right.
on the building height.
Well, but are you gonna have, like a balcony or other tenants gonna have access to the roof?
Any activity on that roof?
On the plans they currently have, and I talked to Walter about this a little bit, They are calling it a roof terrace. That's another variance that is needed.
Okay, so that's,
If they continue to call it a roof terrace. Terrace means you can have, people up there walking around.
right.
And
And that's
don't
the
they,
intention.
Take that off and just.
Yep, in the next middle.
We're trying
don't
to
they have to get that
understand
from, the,
what the board's
presentation.
comfortability. You know, Walter, do you wanna speak to the intention of the owner?
Well, okay, so, one thing I've learned is Craig is always right, so I'm not questioning his decisions, but when you use these fancy AI tools and you say, does the occupied unroofed terrace count as a story? It says no. So we thought we agreed with Kristen's interpretation that if the elevator went up to that level, the elevator itself creates a story condition for the little box, is an occupied floor.
oh, so that's gonna be an elevator where people can actually go up to the roof and get out? Oh, just a mechanic.
Took that out.
Okay.
So we left in a deck, right, a roof terrace, so theoretically, somebody could walk up the stairs and occupy it, go on.
Or you can have
Does
parties.
ADA require though for you to have everyone, you're gonna make it a public space where events or in theory could be held.
Right.
What is, I'm not a building code expert, does ADA require you to have elevator access at the
Yes.
top?
So that's a good point, and for that reason, alone, we're going to remove the word terrace, and it will just say roof, and it will not, nothing finished, so we can have a party up there, and just be like a membrane roof. Right, so
Okay.
that should solve that. Our intention is to simplify it.
So then will you need those other two sort of, those outbuildings, will you need stairwells?
Requires one.
One, maybe one, but you want two.
So, I mean, the main thing is you need to be able to get up to maintain the elevator.
Right,
You need to be able to get up to maintain the roof.
Right.
This is, without it being accessible to the public, now it's just a maintenance access.
But you do need two,
So they allow you to have a hatch, right?
right?
But we would prefer and feel this is, I think it's to code, again, Craig is the man, but my understanding is that stair or an elevator mechanical one are considered not occupied spaces and under a certain footprint.
I think what Randall's asking is, do you need two sets of stairs going up to the roof?
No.
So one can go on.
Yes.
Yeah, because to me, if you have two steps, it implies that you want to have some activities on the roof, either now or in the future.
Okay.
One is is a necessity, two implies something further.
And to Randall's point, I mean, it could be a safety issue with you too as well, again, it's inviting people to go to the roof that may not be safe if it's not maintained.
Right, there's no railings or all these other kind
Okay,
of.
so we'll do that.
And there's also a confusion, and this always happens between what New York State Building Code calls building height and a story versus what the city of Hudson zoning code calls a story and your measurement of building height.
So did you have to go to zoning?
That's what I'm gonna ask.
No, not yet. I mean, we're gonna get the determination from the code enforcement officer, and that'll tell us if we have to.
Well, I think you should come back to us when you
I
have.
spoke to Craig, and that's where he told me that if it's an occupied space,
Mhm.
it would be considered a story.
Okay, but right now they're saying it's not,
Yes.
they're gonna make
Remove it.
changes.
It's not gonna be a story.
Right, and I think they should come back to us when they make those changes, and get that letter from our code enforcer and whatever else determination before we put you in public hearing, if we be there for another year or two. So just bring us something more complete. More to what you're gonna do.
I mean, it's very close to complete. I mean, there were very few and.
I don't personally, from my engineering, I don't think removing a stairway, and getting rid of the terrace is gonna
But what are
change
the
the public.
determinations from the code enforcement?
They will be removing a lot of the determination.
You can also condition, I'm not saying we're at this point at all, but you can even condition approval on variances, so.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, I know, but just saying like you're waiting for the ZBA, like you can even condition. You don't need the ZBA to weigh in, in fact, the ZBA needs you to weigh in on seeker before the ZBA can do anything a lot of the time. So,
So I just want to confirm also that there was an issue from Craig's point of view that height limitation, which is 45 feet, had to be measured from the alley. So, okay, so we accepted it's a street, so we've done that. And only the things we were talking about, the 2 stairs and the elevator and the bus, you know, exceed that.
Okay, do you have that determination from the bank?
From the alley and not from Warren Street?
It's frontage on 2 streets.
Yeah, I mean, and the low,
Right.
The front,
So
the
your
front,
frontage
the back,
would be
and the
both.
front.
So his determination should outline how he came to, like, when Craig gives a determination, he'll outline why did he come to that and how he did. So his determination will not only say this isn't a story or this is a story, it will also say the definition, he will have to define how he defined height. So when roof questions come on, this is always, how do you measure it is always the question. So he will outline that.
I would say happily, because I also spoken with Sam Craig. I think we had a meeting in the mines. I think if we take that second stair out and move the roof terrace. We're then totally, there's nothing for Craig to say, because everything else is.
But you have to talk to Fred about it.
But
Yes.
Still want his determination in writing.
Right.
sure,
Regardless
but
of whether
I mean, consistent with, we expect what he told Christian
Yeah.
to prevail and, we're willing to work. I don't think that we have a lot of changes planned. We'd really love to have the public hearing scheduled so we can start hearing back from the public, sure that we incorporate whatever other concerns are into the plan.
I'm gonna say we wait until we at least get the determination from our code enforcement officer. Before the public hearing. That's
I
all.
was gonna, well, do you feel like from an engineering point of view, you could? That it makes sense for you to get started, or would you only feel comfortable?
Wait for Craig's determination.
I think if they make the changes that they're saying they're gonna make. I don't see what waiting for Craig is gonna do. You can still start to get the public comment back in on the project. You're just pushing it along
Right.
and starting the opening of that project, that phase of the project where you're getting comments back from the public. And then if there is something major that they don't like, that they can start incorporating those changes in their plans.
Because this way, my only thing is that if we put it in the public hearing, do we have escrow for them?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
but I just feel we should wait for our code enforcement to weigh in first. I'm getting an opinion from the board, okay, before we put them in public hearing. It's just things go in public hearing, they stay because they get caught up, plus you have something, you said, was it Shipper, somebody else?
Shippo could take a while. I don't know what their timeline is. Have you heard?
We've advanced that pretty well, and they've been very efficient.
I mean, but they've got quite a few approvals that they have to be project.
So wait, so you, just to clarify, you've done, just because I don't have the documents, you've done a phase 1A and a phase 1B.
And you don't
And the
have
last
documents?
thing, no, they have not submitted that. And the last thing you need is, it's the best of your knowledge, is just a single soil, mechanical soil stripping of a certain section.
We just need SHPO's final approval of the phase 1B.
Okay, so you submitted it and you're waiting for final.
Yeah.
That could still be a month.
Yeah, we're not gonna wait, to me, they have a little bit too much outstanding. So, but it's up to the board. I would not say put them in public hearing.
And seeker cannot be closed at this time, so it's not like you were gonna wait for seeker regardless.
Right.
Okay, so what do you say, Pete?
How much more you got to present tonight? Is that it?
I mean, it hasn't really changed much since the last time we were here, I don't have much more to talk about. I feel like we've kind of worked through a lot of the initial engineering concerns. That's why I really want to hear from the public before we get too far along, and then maybe there was something we didn't think
We'll
about.
talk about parking. What's the parking again? You got 27 rooms and how many spots?
We're not, let's see. Site plan. Keep in mind, this spot is located down by the river on Warren Street. It is a very short walk to the train station. And, a lot of the folks planning to stay here, we would expect would be coming from the train station. It's kind of like really well situated for a tourist destination and hotel.
Is that a shorthand way of saying that you don't have parking?
Well, we do have parking spots. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back, and we have a dedicated handicap spot. We were gonna put a sign up on Warren Street for the front.
So you're gonna take away a regular spot on the front to put handicap.
Correct.
Right in front of your building. One
One handicap spot.
And but you have 4 spots in the back and none of them handicap.
Correct, those ones aren't, the handicap one is an enterprise.
There's a more than a story grade difference, so we have no way to get them from that collection into the thing this way.
Where is your, staging area gonna be, because I went down there, I can't. Well, you're gonna build another, part to that,
Yep, yeah, we submitted,
is it gonna have a basement?
yes. Yeah, we submitted, we usually show the staging areas on our erosion and sediment
It's
control
such a
plan.
close corner,
which
you have the
was-
church next door, an apartment house, then you have a row of, townhouses in the back of you,
Right,
the impact that you're gonna have on that area, especially the private houses right in back of you. Where you gonna, just,
Are you planning to have a parking study?
So if I could just take one at a time.
Yeah.
Related to construction phasing, that's a question that comes up with every project. What we do have to realize, the city of Hudson is exactly that, it's a city, right? So construction has to go, improvements have to be made to buildings that are currently underutilized, somewhat blighted. Without that, we're not gonna have any
I'm
economic
just trying to
development.
figure out if you have.
And so typically the construction phasing will be coordinated with the building department on issuance of a building permit. As Jen said, the construction staging is in our sediment and erosion control plan to show how that would be
You
facilitated.
do have it in your plan?
yes.
They have a staging plan in there that shows where their erosion control measures and.
Now, one of the other reasons why we're here tonight is we wanted to know, what are some of the other super concerns or question the board has? Parking, and I know you've heard me say this, I'm gonna say it again for the record. The city of Hudson zoning code does not require any off-street parking for any development within its city limits.
But that seeker allows us to consider parking for these applications. So when you say that, you say it as it's an absolute, and it's not.
Well,
Because we do have.
I do disagree with that, because in 2019, when the city council adopted that there shall be no off-street parking requirements, they did secret when they adopted that local law. So they found by changing the parking requirements, it will not result in a significant environmental impact.
And every application that comes up, to us is individually, evaluated for parking. Okay,
Right, I
so-
don't agree with that interpretation. I mean, I see what you.
I know, I've been saying
I
that for
do
years.
not, I do not agree with.
It's your interpretation and we hear you,
Right.
but, we don't agree with it.
So this one is unique, I will say that, you are right by the train station. So it's different, yeah,
How many rooms did you say it was?
27.
And how many staff would it take to maintain?
I don't know that, but that's a perfect example.
I can answer that because the same operator runs 3 other hotels on the one street, so we can do the same stuff.
I don't know what that is,
5 people, I think.
for 27 rooms.
So that's the maid, the bellhop, everything.
Well, then we have bellhops.
So, it's not gonna be a desk to sign in?
Sorry?
There's no front desk or anything like that, 24 hours?
So the current operator has a number of properties and planning board went through this with the building that's just on the other side of the church. Several years ago, I got my names mixed up, I believe it's the Mariner.
Yes, it was going on at the same time we did the
And the Mariner, previous planning board didn't like the idea that there wasn't an independent lobby, but they have the manager of the street, they have a telephone in the lobby, they have key card security, most people.
But they only have 8 rooms,
Fair enough.
right,
Okay.
and this is 27 rooms. They only had 8 rooms, and I think that's why, it was 8 rooms, but. I was on a lot of things conditions were put on that for the 8 rooms. Now we're talking about 27. So you're saying that the 27 rooms are gonna be the same as the 8 rooms? No check-in, no 24 hours, none of that.
There will be somebody, I wish the owner was here to answer this, but as I understand it, there will be somebody available in the vicinity, meaning several blocks away, 24 hours a day. So if there was any problem, or if they were expecting delivery or they needed an issue with the staff, they would do it. I mean, again, this is an interesting business question that you all have to contemplate. I don't think anybody would love the idea of mega hotel here, but like if you have these small hotels, economically, it's very hard to hire staff for 27 hotels. It makes a lot more sense try to amalgamate a bunch of hotel rooms that have been operating. Again, I don't know, have you had complaints about these hotels?
Why don't we just ask the applicant if the board wants? It's typical in hotels to ask for a short, very short, 1 page, it's not gonna be long. Maintenance operation manual, like,
Yeah.
we are going to have one person at the front desk and three housekeeping, and I wanna know about deliveries just because of how the dual. Streets plus I would like a delivery of trash pickup in that manual, I think the board would like that as well, and the engineer, just to clean it up.
Project narrative.
Project narrative, exactly, and but specifically, project narrative related to the operations of the hotel. Not just the narrative of the building.
Is that your question, Dawn?
Yes.
So, yeah, that is true. So clean the rooms, having the livings, what? Are you gonna, I guess it's no restaurant, and not there, because people come there about it.
I have a question, where are you at with HPC, because I understand, I believe this is flagged as in the historic district.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we wanted to advance public comment, advance the planning board process is, I've been caught in the ping pong between the planning board and the HPC before. So we want to make sure the planning board is satisfied with the operations, structure, the height. And then we'll go to HPC for initial comment. Because if we go to HPC and we get their comments, then we come back to the planning board and it changes, then we go back to the HPC and it changes. So I want to make sure this board is satisfied from a building design and operation standpoint. Then we can go to the HPC and get comments.
Can you take those two diagrams that you had, first one in that one? Turn them around so the audience can see what we're talking about.
Do you want to go?
I was on I can't,
Make sure the video can see it.
give me a second,
And this is all,
The drawings are all on
public.
Yeah, it is on the whole lines.
Yeah. So I just had a question, in the construction phase. I just wanted, it was with respect to the church next door, you're gonna be excavating quite a bit, right? Are there safeguards to make sure that your excavation doesn't unsettle or disturb the foundation of the church next?
Not only the
door?
church, the apartment house that looks like it's right next, it's not attached.
So I'll just quickly answer part of that if I can. So the uncolored part of the site there that you see is the existing building.
Yep.
And that's next to the existing church, but also on the other side of the apartment building we're talking about.
Is
So-
that attached? That's not attached.
No, it's not attached.
Yeah,
You can see they're separated by, I don't know, 10, 15 feet. But all the new construction, including the new basement, which is already excavated, this is important to say, there are two wings we're taking down, and they have a basement. And this would replace those, so we're not actually radically increasing the footprint because we have that courtyard here. So it's basically as if you took the two wings at the back now and moved them back and brought them up to the height of the existing building, so we're not. The only earth that we're disturbing is already disturbed earth with basement, false basement.
But you'll be pouring new foundation walls, correct?
We absolutely not.
Okay, so you will be disturbing that area.
Right.
Just like you would in any-
And they'll do impedance, whatever.
Yeah,
else they-
but they can do sheet piling and stuff, and that's a construction means and methods
Right,
that, you know,
I just wanna make sure that that's one of the considerations.
it's done every day.
Okay,
Interesting, you know, somebody went in this building.
Was the owner of the gentleman who made a comment about Mill Street? No.
No, it's not me.
Was he here tonight?
No.
No.
I'm not sure why you did it. But it's not. I just wanted to say like that, the area that we looked up.
What, say it?
No, just the area we're disturbing is already disturbed. So, you know, it's not like we're, and the amount we're building is 25% more than what's there now. So this isn't a large scale operation. And I remembered what I was gonna say, in the 1950s or 60s, somebody came in and there must have been structural problems in front of the building. It's got reinforced concrete, steel beams, it's like a bank. So, and we're not touching that, we're only adding one past the courtyard, so I think it's the safest possible. In a type of center.
I mean, the comment is valid, though. It's certainly something that needs to be included in the construction drawings. It's just, as Christian said, more of a construction stage and a structural design item and less of a site planning item, because it's feasible. There's a way to do it. We just have to do it correctly. It's not a question of whether it's feasible.
Who's just saying?
So. I still don't think they're ready for this. I'm gonna leave it up to the board. I said no, you said. This.
We haven't made an actual motion.
Oh.
Sorry.
Let me,
Should we start public hearing, the questions that have a timeline or affect that application?
So the only effect it has on the application is, that you do have 62 days once you close that public hearing.
Close.
It doesn't affect timeline the other way, other than the fact that honestly, when I typically really slow, is like my hesitation. A lot of times you like to do seeker and public hearing concurrently. And you don't have all your seeker information out. I mean, I don't expect there to be, I'm not saying there will be, I don't think there will be, but you never know. So that's one thing, is you're waiting for seeker information. But other than that, there's really no. I mean, the project, I don't think it's gonna change significantly, and this has already been submitted to county, we already have county comments. We already have like seeker besides, we already declared lead agency and we haven't had any comments. So I don't foresee anything coming besides required shipments to give us their final letter.
I understand what they're going through,
Yeah,
like he said, ping pong, back and forth, back and forth. If it's something that we can facilitate, move along. Should we have a public hearing?
I mean,
Or should we wait for next month?
I don't think a public hearing is gonna change that unless you expect significant public comment regarding that will require a change. I mean, it's whether or not you think the site plan is gonna be substantially changed. In my opinion, I believe it's far enough along. Like I said, the only thing I'm keeping open in my opinion was SHPO, which could come back by next month, honestly. And then I think Christian's already said that he doesn't expect much difference in engineering plans, so it's really just gonna be a board decision.
come back to you.
Well, you should make a motion. You haven't made a
Oh,
motion yet.
I would like to
Sorry.
motion to, well, they're asking if to go to public hearing from our next meeting in June. And, is the motion not to put on it?
No, I'll make a motion.
No, like, if you're gonna vote and ask everyone, you need to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we set public hearing for.
June 13th, right? Give me 1 second.
Yeah, maybe not the 29th.
Yeah, I would push it till the next meeting.
No.
The next regular meeting.
June 10th.
I don't
For
think.
June.
we're
To
ready.
the June 10th at 6:30 meeting.
Yeah, for the June 10th at 6:30.
I'll second that.
Are you, you're gonna come back with a better drawing on June 10th?
Well, yeah, we will have already sorted out the height issue with Craig. I mean, the
Do you
main
have
thing
the
we're
letter?
gonna update is just removing that second
Can
stairwell.
you get us the letter by the, you know,
I should be able to take some drawings in a couple of days.
and get the letter?
Should I take
For the next?
Yeah, and I don't.
Because I don't want you to stay in public hearing.
Yeah, and we
You know what I'm
appreciate
saying?
that.
And when you, and that's one of the things we talked about at the board, putting these projects into public hearing too early. Okay, and we don't want to do that.
So we have 2 votes yes.
For June.
Jean,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
Yeah, I did a motion, yes.
Three source.
oh, we have a form, so that's 3-1. Yeah, like that.
So all in favor?
Fails. Fails, we say no, what's your final vote?
Okay, we'll put them in the budget. I'm not saying.
You can say it, no, that's what you do.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what.
Motion passes, your public hearing is set on June 10th at 6:30. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
But we're not gonna move if you don't come back with everything. We're gonna have a public hearing, just sit there.
Understood.
We'll get
We just
the,
had a application of public
interpretation
hearing for 2
credit.
years, we don't wanna do that.
The height modification and if we're lucky, ship will
And
get back to
parking.
us. So
What did you say?
what is the request on parking?
It's a parking study.
The board would like a parking study.
We want a parking study. Because you will have some impact.
Yeah.
And an area.
Oh, in there.
It's one page operations. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. 59 North Front Street. Are you here?
Yeah.
I really, you got me first.
That's okay, yeah. So we're Heights Net?
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm David Slaza, I'm the owner's rep with Kaya, the
What
executive
have you
director.
guys done?
Well, we've been figuring some stuff out, raising money, making the project viable and possible. We actually, Kaya had a baby.
okay, congratulations.
That's.
So that
Congratulations.
expands.
A little bit busy.
Also, since we've been and presented to you first, we have a different design team on the project, so,
So we saw,
yeah, so,
can you put
John-
that new design up? If you got questions, we all saw.
yeah, for
I
sure.
saw, I have questions, that's all right.
So Jonathan is here with Jacques Gardner, who's the architect. Jen Incorporated is doing the civil and MEP. You know, I'm still the same guy, and we just want to get back in front of you, progress the project and take the next steps to get this going.
Floor is yours.
Yeah, so you guys working out who's presenting what? So we, yeah,
Okay,
the shape of the building has
she's
changed.
the, you know,
She's an engineer.
engineer,
Still an
Yeah.
engineer.
I'm the owner's rep. He's an architect.
and then.
Yeah.
He's like one of my.
And you're the owner.
Yeah. So the shape of the building has changed. We had, when we went in front of you last time, it was a two-story building, kind of a curved shape. The building's now one story. We made that change to provide better accessibility to everybody who comes into the space. We felt like it was a better program layout, and kind of activated the property in a more useful way.
Did you get a full, clear picture of what is it? Before we were discussing educational center, school.
Yeah, so this is a education type activities happen here. It will be filed and Craig has approved of it under the E class of building code. Right, so is it educate, yeah, I can get a letter.
Yes, you did.
We're on track with him. And he kind of gave us the pathway for approvals for building code, so we'll file under E class. I don't know what else we need to say on that, but we're working out the details of the building code.
Yeah, we just,
Still,
if
yeah,
you don't call it a school,
Yeah.
then it doesn't meet the zoning, but if Greg is okay with what you call it, that's fine.
Yeah.
We just need it right.
for sure. So we were hesitant to call this school because we didn't, the organization is not subject to NICEAD requirements and New York State things, so we had some trepidation, I guess, in calling it a school, but in terms of operationally and functionally and the types of things that go on in there, the most appropriate code pathway is school.
Yeah, and I just mean purely from zoning.
Yeah,
What you call yourself internally, I don't care, I just wanna know what the.
yeah, so we're a zoning pathway for education.
Yeah, because the last time you were here, we couldn't.
Totally, yeah,
The
and
nature of Hudson zoning code has a smaller number of categories that we could fit ourselves into, so if we're in another municipality, there might be more options for it to fit us into, so that was part of why we were trying to
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
what is the closest fit for us.
Yeah, there's like-
Right.
yeah, but yeah,
But
so
now you've spoken to the code enforcer.
Yeah.
And he's gonna write us a letter.
we can get that.
Explaining,
Yeah, he looked at the kind of pathway for us, he said, looks good, get back. in
So
front of the
we'll,
section.
yeah, that's his directions that we all go to.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you still having the outside theater? No.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's not exactly a theater, there's an outside gathering space, we call it an amphitheater, but it's, on the plan, there's. The elevation kind of dips down, there's a lower area, so it's more like, we call it an amphitheater, but the elevation changes from about this high to the floor, it's not like the Greek theater in California or something, it's not like some huge.
So they stack, okay.
They're actually giant slabs of concrete that are on site now, that we're just stacking up into a seating arrangement. And filling it from underneath, so it's stable and secure. We also have, it's not the accessible way to that site, there's another accessible way to get down there. It's just a cool seating feature with like a lower area to do stuff.
That's the outside area.
That's the outside here, yeah. And we moved it, it was further in, it's between the building and the train track, so it's kind of pushed to the.
Is the occupancy still the same? Is the planned occupancy still the same?
Yes, sir, yes, it is, yeah.
And that's for how many people?
Right now, I think we're coming in at about maximum 120.
It's 136.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Was that for the building maximum 136?
correct, yeah.
That's the building maximum for egress calculations, but that's
Okay.
not necessarily expected occupancy for daily operation.
So the size that we've used for our traffic and water wastewater was 10 staff, 90 students, is that correct?
That's correct.
So that's the occupancy that we're planning is in terms of the maximum use of the site.
So 100 is the max use, right? Is what you said?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
that's a usable space. You're saying 136, 146?
136.
136.
So that's not what we're seeking site plan approval for. We're seeking, that is just, a function of the building code. The building code has fixed maximum allowances from a fire code perspective.
Right.
What we're seeking site plan approval for is 90 students, 10 staff.
So the fire code is 136. The fire department will not let any more than 136 people. But for daily use,
Gotcha.
and at their max occupancy will be 100. So they're not expecting more than 100 people. And we can put that on the site plan if that's something you guys. So just.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
So also as a result of the building change, so the building is more of a circular. The footprint of it is about 8,000 square, 8,500 square feet. There's an overhanging roof around it. It's kind of like a big pavilion with the several spaces underneath and inside. We have accessible pathway crossing the street up and around the property. We're proposing to build the sidewalk that was unbuilt as part of the sidewalk.
So y'all gonna give us.
Well, we're gonna give everybody a sidewalk, yeah, so
But
we're gonna,
before you wasn't, but now you are.
well, there was some, wasn't entirely sure if it was gonna happen as part of the street improvement project that's underway. Now we know it is excluded from that for sure, so we're gonna take it upon ourselves.
Is it
Yeah.
the city's right away or your own personal property where the sidewalk is going?
This is the city's right of way,
So you're gonna need an easement from the city.
we will need an easement from the city.
Easement to propose a sidewalk?
I don't think so.
We haven't.
It's inside
It's
the
in the
right.
right, sorry, it's inside the right of way. Sorry, I'm just
Correct.
trying to check
Correct,
boxes.
because the whole of the public can use the
I
sidewalk.
said it backwards, yeah, sorry, yes. Yeah.
So we're gonna, and we're more or less following the sidewalk plans that were part of Arterial's design, so the design that was approved, to my understanding, as part of the sidewalk.
So the new sidewalks that they put over there, now you're gonna follow that plan.
Exactly, yeah, so we're gonna connect up at just past the terraces where the sidewalk ends, and we're gonna run that down the side to the new Fergery Park.
Are you also in the floodplain or no?
Part of the site is in the floodplain, which has been, a challenge on the stormwater design. We have initially met with Christian, one of our goals is to initiate engineering review of all the materials that we submitted. Because, we don't have the comment letters back, but, there is a different stormwater strategy at this site. We are aware that the receiving sewers are underwater already right now during a 100-year storm. And so we have a design to elevate the building foundation.
I was about to ask you, at what level do you think you're gonna be at, are you planning to be at?
We're 6 feet above
There's 6 people.
the flood elevation. So it's the flood elevation. As discussed with Craig is 11 feet.
Right, so you're.
We're at 17.
We're gonna be at 17.
Okay.
Are you filling the site anywhere where it's 11 feet currently?
There will be fill on site, yes.
Similar to the Mill Street project? You have to compensate for any fill inside the floodplain?
And is that a city zoning law? I was used to that being a requirement of floodways, but not necessarily flood hazard areas of the state.
Flood hazard areas, typically, it's, you know, best management practice to try to compensate for that flood area that you're, you know, filling.
What does that mean? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So that if you fill inside that flood zone, you know, 11 feet right now, you're displacing that water to someplace else.
Sure.
So to compensate for that, inside of that flood zone, you take an 11 and you excavate it down to an 8 or a 9. Okay, so you're compensating for that area that you're filling in with area that's lower.
Yeah.
Give that water service.
So, I mean, I would love to talk to you about that. You know, the other part of this is that the flood source of that is the Hudson River, which is considered effectively free body by FEMA. And so, you know, on that basis, providing the compensatory volume has little effect on the actual elevation of the Hudson River.
It's a secret concern for flooding, right? There is a secret question regarding are you gonna impact surface water? Are you gonna impact groundwater? Are you gonna add to the groundwater? Is literally a secret question in the water section, and I'm going off memory, so please forgive my poor verbiage. But, you know, the board has to consider those impacts, and best management practice, according to our engineer, is such.
Sure, so we can absolutely address it, and I can explain why I think what we've proposed will not exacerbate flooding in other areas, and ensure that you guys are comfortable with it.
Well, and if we could get an overlay of how much of the property is in the floodplain, because you said partially.
Yes.
So that would be helpful.
Flood hazard area is hatched, and it's easier when you're looking closer, but, you know, it's basically easier.
Is it on, I apologize, I briefly looked at this, is it on the actual site plan currently?
The flood hazard area?
Yeah, it is on.
Yes, yeah.
And I just can't access, we're doing that one down, so.
Yes, there we go. Yep,
So it's not where the building is, it's just outside.
correct, in
In the berm, we're kind of building up to get the building at that.
So when you're doing an amphitheater, that's in that section, isn't it?
The amphitheater, the like bottom part of the amphitheater is at
Here.
about 11 foot. Yeah, exactly, yeah,
That's the lowest part.
yeah, more or less. Is that? Double check me, I guess.
So that would maybe be subject to flooding then.
Actually, 12.
Well, yeah, you would have much of a margin.
but we
Yeah,
wouldn't
no,
be
we're-
using the site, we wouldn't be using the site in that way during a 100-year storm.
No, I understand, okay.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying.
we understand the risks, the property has risks, you know, it's a challenging site to develop.
Right,
We understand that, we're trying to be mindful of all of those bits, honestly. I'm worried if we dig a hole down, we're actually gonna create a pond that, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not an engineer, I'm just a guy who digs holes sometimes, so I don't know if that is appropriate, but we can look.
well, on the line of that, have you bored the soil samples?
Yeah.
To make sure your foundation is gonna be.
For sure, yeah, we've done an extensive geotech analysis, we've actually had the geotech out twice, we have about 12 holes, I think that we've done, we have a really good look at it.
We don't have.
The geotech, yeah.
And you need to submit an EAF anyway, an updated EAF, that also is.
We did.
I have not seen a new one, I have not seen a new one since May of last spring, I'm sorry, since August.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed the upload, but I didn't see
I forwarded an email that did not copy you, and I'd be happy to do that.
Was
That would be
great.
And I apologize, there's the part of the resubmission and restart of this project was a little gray for the team here, understanding that there's been a long pause, us coming back before you. And so in the background, I will readdress the.
So please upload everything to the Unico lab,
Yes.
because then everyone can review it. I appreciate the email as well, but as long as it's on Unico lab, we'll review it. It just needs to be on the website.
It is actually on.
Okay.
And I will, but there is a question about, I didn't want to remove old information.
So maybe it got up, I see where you're going. Okay.
So there is old information and I didn't want to remove it until we actually addressed the board again.
Okay.
Should we?
So-
No,
No.
please keep it, and then when you submit it, your date, so
Yeah.
you'll have like, if
Yeah.
you don't have an updated EAF, as long as your disturbance is the same, you don't need to update your app. I just didn't see one that had the newest
I mean-
disturbance and,
The plan is very different than it was.
yeah, so I just assumed you
You
needed.
should review the new one, you know,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of
Internet.
getting it in the right spot, I think.
I don't know if everyone knows the history of the site, but up until 2010, the entire site was covered in buildings. It was 3 very large, brick and timber frame mill buildings that have been there since the turn of the century, so. Just just for context in terms of what that site has held in the past. And had basements, that took in water.
And-
We're actually improving the site in terms of drainage capacity, the community garden and the work that we've done on soil, the soil for the whole site has actually made it so it absorbs more stormwater than ever before. We'll be creating all kinds of, proactive systems for managing stormwater, so we're actually doing a favor sort of to that site and have been for years compared to what it was in 2010 when the first buildings got demolished and then, in 2017.
When you were here before, the structure that was there now, you're gonna keep that and build on it, are you still gonna do that?
That foundation
The
is
foundation?
like a pre-excavated pit from which to build a foundation.
So it's gonna, portions of that foundation will remain, but will be lost and buried. We're actually not going to rely on it for any of the structural components of the building. Based on the geotech information that we will update for the site and the collaboration between the geotechnical engineer and our new structural.
So you're gonna just fill it in.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it there, we're gonna put structural fill on top of it and put a building on top.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so we don't wanna like throw it in the dump, it's already sitting there,
Right.
so we're eliminating waste. It's part of it.
I can't get in my internet. Did you guys send us the updated narrative as to what you're doing?
It is also on the Unico lab. Those dates would be April 30th is the date.
I'll take a look.
The drawings that and I understand that there's an internet issue, but the dates that to look for the new drawings are April 30th. However, tomorrow, we have some even continued updates that Crawford has dated. I will update those and replace the.
No, don't replace any, keep,
Don't replace, just update.
Got it,
the
sure.
update date.
I'll take any.
New drawings from Crawford will be dated.
And then-
It'll keep a record of the entire picture.
And that's what we need, that's.
So
Yeah.
did you, and that because there seems to be some submittal problems on both ends, was there, like, did you have lighting and landscaping or that's coming?
We'll add that.
Okay.
We can add that, yes. But there are both of those things, yes.
What the update he's mentioning for tomorrow is, Christian, we finished a water wastewater report. With that, we made adjustments to the site plan as we were finishing that. So you're gonna get a new set that's like totally coordinated on the water wastewater granite front. But I understand lighting is still coming.
What lighting is actually, we have lighting that we can submit, plans that we can submit. There's also, you'll see the letter from
We have SHPO and DEC.
SHPO and DEC letters that can be reviewed as well.
And
I saw the ship up, but I did not see the DEC letter.
It's not up yet. You'll see it tomorrow.
DEC, yeah, just to clarify, so it's an area of archaeological interest, and so we had SHPO out. Yeah, I'm just clarifying what we're talking about, so that was clear, they found no significant impact of this project. And then we had DEC out because it's a potential nesting site for peregrine falcon and bald eagle and a list of things, they decided that was of no significant impact. And they also said, but take a careful look at your flood and water, and so.
We are
They-
carefully looking.
So everybody agrees that that's kind of the thing to consider.
and the entrance is where? Just walk us through that.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Entrance is here.
Well, so the main entrance presents itself to North Front Street. So there's a drop off zone that's happening here on the street.
And then there's a walkway that comes directly, and so the building.
Why, you have a turnaround, so the buses kind of go in and drop off the kids and.
There's no room for that literally on the site to keep the
Well,
sign.
in the last plan, they had it with buses.
No, we were never able to get a bus onto the property.
Something was there,
The buses can't back out.
parking or something.
That's what I'm saying, like a loop. where they
Handicap
can-
parking was there, something.
We have one space on site.
It's been a while.
Here. Yeah,
How about elevations?
we do have elevations, and those drawings were updated also on the site. On the new collaborative site.
But you own the site across the street as well, right? Okay.
Yeah, so the bus would swing around the block and pull up on the street. They're just like a regular.
The bus
Bus driver.
currently drops off, we actively use the site every day, so the bus
Right.
currently drops off, it has a standard loop that drops off right here. Kids get off and then the bus keeps going, it doesn't need to turn around,
Gotcha,
because
okay.
it's a loop around seconds.
Yeah, and instead of dropping off into the grass, they'll drop off on the sidewalk.
Yes. Remember, they're gonna extend that out down towards.
And then it'll go on Mill Street.
There you go. Maybe. Yeah.
So it's okay.
Something you wanna do.
Okay.
About this, cause I'm looking at,
And your parking, employee parking is where, across the street, where?
Across the street.
how about, yeah, parking, you did, gonna have across the street.
Has the board declared lead agency on this?
No, so seeker has not, no action has been taken under seeker. I was just discussing with Christian whether I believe this is on listed action. I don't see it reaching above a type 1 threshold.
No.
No, so, the board can declare the agency and I.
And the consultant hasn't yet viewed everything.
Just trying to think it would be a coordinated review. I think it'd be an uncoordinated review. I don't know what else.
Why would it be uncoordinated, or why, what?
Well, no, there's no other action. There's no other agencies involved.
We got BC.
We do not, I guess we could do a coordinated.
Yeah.
Very-
Coordinator is good.
With DEC, I guess, Sheffield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you had to rule out the animal,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there are.
Yeah, Sheffield's just not
Delegated, relevant,
authority. So you could do-
yeah,
That's fine.
but coordinated seems to say.
I don't have a reference review on this from my.
So what would be the-
You could do, so if the board the only way that you can move the project along tonight is also, are you near a county building? I didn't.
That's what I'm wondering, where's?
I think you are, right?
Yeah.
11 Warren is how close to them?
You said you had one flag for county
Yeah,
review
we-
prior.
Yeah, so you have to, you do, it's in my notes as well, but then when I went, Columbia County doesn't have a map that you can like put in the address. So I was trying to figure that out today.
Absolutely.
I think you should just refer to county to be safe, especially if you fly.
Yeah, we'd like to get their feedback.
I spoke with county, and they did verify that the address is within their.
Okay, perfect.
500 feet.
Prior engineer with BNL did make the request to change that on the form, that it is now updated to say that they would be an agency that also needs.
Yeah, I did see that.
Okay, so then we would be.
So what you do
Right.
is, so the.
Yeah.
So the motion you would make is motion to declare lead agency in a coordinated review, and that would be for to DEC, SHPO, and Columbia County Planning, and refer to county planning under 239.
Okay,
And which I can, that's the motion.
yeah, you do.
So you can say, if you wanna move that motion if you would like.
Okay, a motion to declare them to the agencies.
I second it.
All in favor? And that's it, we got. Okay.
And do they need to move to circulate with county for the,
So that was the motion, so it was refer to county under 239M and include it as in a coordinated review under the agency, so that was already also the.
Control.
Yeah,
gotcha,
which the secretary will handle.
okay, okay.
And Chris is gonna evaluate your submittals right now. I'm looking at that and I don't. There's a lot of questions I can ask, but I'll wait for his evaluation first. Okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot going on, but
There's a lot
we
going
put a
on.
lot of thought into it.
You guys, I believe we set escrow all the way back in 2022.
Yes, they did.
We're
So we're gonna use the same,
There's no money left.
we're gonna use the same escrow account.
That's
So
fine.
we got the 3,600 plus available right now.
Okay. Great, well, let's do it quick. Thanks, appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll probably see you next month.
Thank you very much.
But please do a full submittal with, before you come back before the planning board with lighting, landscaping, all that should be done next.
And that's, the next month meeting is June what?
June 10th.
June 10th.
And you're still doing geothermal? Or
No,
you-
no geothermal.
No.
No. Yeah, it's all electric heat pumps,
Any solar for, I'm just, know
Yeah,
that the
solar.
sustainability issue.
yeah, there's solar on the roof.
Should probably show that on that.
Yeah, we can talk about that, yeah.
You can talk about it when you come back.
Yeah, that's,
But
yeah,
the
there's,
Yes, it
The
should,
parking area.
it needs to be,
Yeah, the
Even though it's
parking
off
needs
site.
to-
it does need to be on the site, okay, the solar. I'm
Yeah.
gonna-
Okay, thank you.
it's like, we're all
All right.
carbon neutral.
Yeah, it would be nice to have.
Yeah, cool, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So they don't have it. Okay, next, we gotta wait. We don't have a form.
Well, they can send that.
We can set up, we can set up.
Yep, I just have a brief introduction and then I'll turn it over to John.
Okay, but we don't have.
It's nice to see you guys, like it waiting. I really appreciate it, I mean, you can recognize, I think everybody in the room recognize how hard you guys have worked. Because I think,
Just a real fast. Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
This is what came to one meeting.
We can.
Might not have it. Been sugar free though, so.
Company here in town. This is something that mission driven. Meetings.
Hold on a second, guys, I gotta mute this.
Hello,
Ready?
ready?
Good, all right. Try to be brief.
So my name is John First, I'm the attorney for the Hudson Housing Authority. I'm at Catania Man Rider in Newburgh, New York. With me here tonight is also John Matteo. He's at Malco Construction. They're the development partners that are working with the Hudson Housing Authority. They also have one of the board members, Nick Sakos. He's here as well tonight. We were last here in March of 2025. We gave a pretty big presentation. We had all the architects and civil engineers. We had a traffic engineer. We had other representatives from Malco. So tonight we just stuck with the three of us. Since that time, we met with the state, HCR, to be specific, and they had asked for some changes to what we presented to you back in March. So we had to, we had to make those changes because HCR kind of controls the money here. So we kind of have to do what they asked. We also made some changes based upon some of your feedback that we got in March. So John's going to go through those revised plans in a second. But essentially, there have been some changes. We did submit an application and escrow fee since we met in March, so make sure that's on the record there. So we're just looking for a preliminary review of this revised concept plan. We're not asking for any approvals. We're not asking you to take any action tonight. We're not there yet. We're just really here to provide you an update as far as what's changed since March, and we hope to provide a more complete submission in 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
That's what we're kind of looking at. So John will go through the changes.
I get to give you the good news, okay? At least we think it's really good news. We think you're gonna think it as well. Yeah. So essentially what we came to you before.
Let me share it.
Okay, you got it.
I'm gonna
We
share
came
it
to you with two rectangular buildings, okay? One we call building A, one we call building B, and they were 5 stories. And we've been working since then to do a number of things, drive down our price, okay, for the state, but also to drive down the height of the buildings, okay, to make the buildings as low as we can. What we've been able to do, and if the architects were here, they would give you a fancy explanation. But I'm gonna tell you, basically what we did was we bumped out the building, so we took a rectangular building, we made it a L here, we did the same thing here, we had a rectangular building and we made it an L at the other end. And by doing that, we can drop both buildings from 5 stories to 4 stories.
Okay.
Okay, which is, we think is a significant improvement. We would have lived with 5 stories, but 4 stories we think is better. We haven't lost any units, which is important.
You're still at 250?
So they
You're still at 250 or your total?
Overall, yes,
Okay.
but just in the first phase, we're now at about 166 units.
Okay.
So we have about 58 units in this building, 102 units here. And then we also talked to you about site across the street where there are 3 lots that we are acquiring. And we're gonna put 3 townhouses there, maybe 4 townhouses there.
One family,
Pardon me?
one family townhouses.
2 of them are gonna be 1 family, they're gonna be 5 bedrooms each, the housing authority has a need for 5 bedrooms.
Or something like the Low Rocks.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so you're gonna have 2 units, so we'll have 5 units to 5 bedrooms in each, okay, and then we've got another 3rd building there. That we might have a 2 units down.
6? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so the unit count is about the same as we had, and it doesn't, one of the critical issues we have here is we haven't moved into the buildings here where we have to tear down these buildings, which are still under HUD control.
Right.
And that would have raised a whole series of issues. So we can do these buildings and we can do the townhouse buildings, obviously, as phase 1. Once these buildings are up again, the plan is to relocate people out of Bliss. There's still a couple of households in Columbia as well, and we'll move them as well.
Sure.
I apologize.
Where would the entrance is at?
The entrance, there's a entrance off of the street here to come
Okay.
in. The entrances, both entrances, there'll be a front entrance and there'll be a rear entrance.
And when you complete these 2 buildings, then you'll effectively screen off the now abandoned, now waiting for demolition, you'll screen those off.
As soon as we take these buildings down, what we'll be working on with the state is the funds to demolish Bliss.
Right.
Okay, and then we'll obviously we'll relocate the tenants. Once they're out, then we'll have to have a whole plan as to how we're gonna demolish and how. We're gonna
Right.
work.
That was my question. So
Yeah.
your phase one, we're looking at just building the building.
That's correct.
With the expectation, you're gonna come back for phase two with a demolition plan and a new site plan for the second half.
That's correct. Okay, and right now, to respond to your question, in phase two here, okay, we think we're gonna have about another 110 units. Okay, so that would get us up to about 260.
Yeah, what's those, but that's out.
That's in the
Out
future.
okay.
And if you recall, we're going to try to keep as much of this as green space, okay, as we possibly can.
You had a whole courtyard concept.
Yes.
You're maintaining that.
That's correct, but that's all part of phase two.
Okay.
Because right now, we can't build on any of that until we take these buildings down, and we don't have the HUD approval for that.
So how many people currently live in Bliss Towers?
There are 100 and, I want to get the numbers right, so we've got 120 units and there are about, maybe 100 households there.
So before phase two is completed, no one will be displaced.
That's correct. Yeah. And then there in Columbia, I think we're 15 units and maybe there are, 10 households in those 15 units. So
So-
all those people,
So phase two essentially brings in additional housing that Bliss doesn't offer right now.
that is correct. So we're adding additional housing, affordable housing on the site. But we think we have a good ratio. And one of the things that we've mentioned before is the households that we're serving here are extremely low income households, okay? Which is critical. We want to make sure that we give them the opportunity to move into housing and provide assistance for them.
And that will be for the, okay.
Are the same type of units that Bliss offers for these, so like, I don't know what is in demand, is it 3-bedroom, 2 single, so is it the same sort of units being offered?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. I just happen to have it right here.
Tell us something.
Okay,
Phase one.
on phase one, we've got a mixture of, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s in these buildings here. And then, as I told you, the townhouses, there are 2 5-bedroom units and one building has a 3 and a 2. But in the 2 buildings, we have a total of, 91 1-bedroom units, 38 2-bedroom units, 27 3-bedroom units, and 3 4-bedroom units. And that covers the existing households that we know here. So we're not, we're creating the housing that we need to move the people in from the existing housing. Okay.
So that would cover what's there now and
Correct.
add.
And then add, yes, because we're moving about, let's say 110 households into about 160. Okay, so we'll have some extra, and then we'll have another 100 in the next phase.
So
Those
those
remaining-
houses continue renting. You're still renting apartments. Yes.
Yes.
And the remaining units past those 106, 110 are based on the waiting list. Not the size of the household that there's waiting list, that's what we're basing the household
In
size.
other words, they're still renting. They're still taking applications if like one to do.
Yeah,
They
then,
really want available, but they're still taking applications, they're still taking people in. And they're saying, you know, when they build, they'll have enough to take in who's there and whoever's on the waiting list at that time.
that's correct. The need, as I'm sure you know, is overwhelming. Absolutely overwhelming.
In the plan that you presented last time, building B has some commercial spaces, are they still in the? The building B has commercial spaces?
Yeah, we
So they're still in there?
still have that. We don't have any leases signed, but we still have, I think we got 3,000 square feet of commercial space.
Okay.
It also has, Building A has, new offices for the housing authority. Right now, the housing authority's offices are in Bliss. So we're gonna put the housing authority's offices right here, actually, which reminds me, there's a little confusion at the last presentation about, maybe there was an extra 10,000 square feet of space that, you know, we didn't actually have programmed. In fact,
Yeah.
there is, underneath here, it's sort of a cellar space here that because of the grade goes out to grade here. So we've got a community room down here, we've got the bike storage space, we've got mechanical, we've got a gym. So it's not that we have extra space, that space is programmed.
So are you still closing off State Street?
That's a question, okay, we can, you know, that's something we want to talk with you, it's, if the city wants to move that, we can. It's not funded in this funding application, so we'd have to get funding for it, because that's an additional.
You guys brought that to us, we didn't bring it to you.
That's right.
We,
state, I think it's basically saying it's not gonna fund it.
Okay, then that's fine.
Yes.
Cause you guys kind of brought that
Correct,
to us.
we did,
Yeah.
we did at the time, the state, at that time, the state was fine with it, but now they changed their mind.
And you still have a food fair going, from, is it Second, is it First?
It's from Columbia to State.
Yeah, First Street, is that going to First Street going all the way to State
So
Street?
that's something we've been discussing with the engineers,
That's
so
not good.
when we come back with a more detailed plan, we'll have that figured out.
Are you gonna have parking then on State Street?
That's, let's talk about parking for a second, and what I'm talking about parking tonight. Right now, let's start with right now, the housing authority currently has, let's say, 135 units. We've got about 40 spaces there, which is one space for about 3.25.
You mean the whole thing, because we have parking in one, at least.
We got a
two
couple
areas.
4 parking lots.
Right, four, okay,
Right.
so in total, how many parking spaces?
We got about 40 spaces.
Oh, wow. I
It's
thought it
only
was more.
four?
Yeah, I thought it was more.
Right, I could have sworn it was more.
Half of them are typically empty.
That I understand, you're right.
So right now, okay, without any parking spaces on the undeveloped portion, so just parking spaces up here, parking spaces here, and some parking down here. We've got about 72 spaces, okay, so 72 spaces. If you just do it against the 166, it's a much better ratio. If you do it against the total number, okay,
Yes,
it's a little bit higher ratio, okay, so instead of 1 to every 3.25, it's 1 to every 3.8. We're expecting to get some parking on here. Again, the less parking we put here, the more green space we have, so that's in discussion.
Well, why-
Along State Street, this is my question.
Right now,
Currently, no, so it's no one can park there, it's all located or whatever, no parking space.
But you still have a parking space at the corner of Columbia and Second. That's where there's a current parking space, down, no, down, keep going right there.
Oh, Columbia.
Yeah, right across from Providence Hall, there's a parking.
Oh, you're talking about what we were talking about last time about the pull-in parking?
Yeah, I'm saying-
Diagonal parking?
No, I'm saying, right now you have an existing parking lot, that's right,
right by Bliss.
Right,
Right,
that
right.
won't, that'll still remain
Right.
during phase 1.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The existing parking is gonna remain during phase 1.
So is 72 including the existing parking or 72 that you're moving?
No, 72 on the new space, and then we've got, this is gonna stay during the
Right, and that's probably what, 15 parking, 50,
Easily, yeah, that's the biggest of the 4 parking.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the
Yeah,
one.
so that's about, all right. So I was asking for the lifetime of the project, this is always gonna be forever affordable, house.
Yes,
Okay.
it's definitely affordable. That's part of the funding program. There's gonna be a regulatory agreement that's gonna run the land. Okay, so it's definitely locked in.
Okay,
I think that's overseen federally, so it's not like
Right.
it's not a private development that comes up and then can change down the road because of that federal oversight. It's
well,
it's
right,
locked in,
right, but now you guys have done RAD, so,
yeah,
you know, it's a little different, but,
well, it's not owned anymore by the federal government, but there's still that level of
it's different,
oversight.
exactly, that's why I just wanna make sure that's on the
And there'll
record.
still be the oversight of a local board of commissioners as there is now.
Yeah,
But it's by deed restriction, we're saying.
Yes, it's gonna
So
be.
it's gonna be in the deed.
yeah,
recorded.
And again, that's a good point, Nick. The housing authority, after 15 years, Mountco steps out of the project entirely. The housing authority will have full ownership. Right now, will be 50-50. First 15 years.
okay, but in 15 years, it reverts back to full control of housing.
It goes back to the housing authority.
Okay.
So again, I'm
Was there talk of a portion of the excess apartments, let's say, after 200 were built, that you were gonna do some that were close to the market rate, or was that?
There was a discussion, and we haven't locked into that phase. That's not gonna happen in phase 1, because we have to serve the households that we have now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
So there's an option that we could go a little bit higher, okay, so right now. Maybe you go 60 to 80% of income as a.
Right, it still would be AMI based no
Yeah,
matter
it's
what.
all gonna be AMI based, okay?
Okay.
So it's not gonna be much higher. If you have any, and if there were, there might be a scattering, okay, it's not gonna be a high percentage.
Right, okay.
So again, we're very mindful of your 9 o'clock hard stop, so thank you very
Wait a
much.
minute, any more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, now I can see.
We will just say this, we're not gonna be back in June, but we plan to, we're having borings done now. We're gonna have a full site plan application, what you would normally be accustomed to with, drainage and all the things you wanna look at. We hope to have that to you, so that we can be on your July meeting,
Is that gonna be for phase 1 and phase 2, or just phase 1?
just for phase 1.
And get it to us as soon as we can.
We
so
can, we will.
review it.
With seekers, that gonna be a problem.
I'm gonna have to really think about segmentation, yeah, I mean, we might have to do seeker on the full project, if we know we're bringing down the buildings, but I think the reason I don't know is I have to look at your submittal. When we get the submittal, we'll be able to determine whether or not,
Yeah.
but most likely, we're gonna have to do. I don't know if the city has a demolition permit, but we're gonna have to do a full seeker review on the entirety of the project. But then when you come back in for phase 2, seeker doesn't have to be done.
And we'll give you our best estimate. I mean, we can give you an idea of how many units, and we can give you a proposed layout.
It'll be easier for you in the long run if you do seeker now.
Yeah.
And if you overestimate, it's better, because if you underestimate, you have to come back, so I
Okay.
think that's something to
That's a
keep in
good
mind, overestimation is best.
Mhm.
Because if you're 10 more units, I mean, that's ground street open seeker,
Okay,
when you come back for phase 2.
that's a good catch, thank you.
Okay, so as long as you're okay with stuff on a conceptual level for phase
Yeah.
2.
And a conceptual site plan will be helpful, I mean, it'd be as simple as this, just
Yeah.
listing. If we're gonna do secret on the whole thing, need some kind of full concept plan, built out, labeled with phases. Like red will be phase 2, list will be phase 1, which should be color coded.
Okay, thank you. Terrific. Thank you again for your help.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for cooperation.
Alright.
Thanks, guys.
What time?
When when they come back, you should come back with visualizations like they did before.
What?
Visualizations.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Thank
you. Okay.
It's 8:56.
I can do it in 4 minutes.
All right.
You should at least.
Come on.
I'm gonna
Thank
be
you.
first now at least.
You should come back.
Hurry up. You've got 4 minutes.
Charles Gottlieb from here on behalf of Galvin Initiatives Foundation. Yeah, right. New engineer, Rod Morrison from LRC Group. The project is the Depot District. We have some changes. We're adding 1 2-bedroom unit into the building that's being constructed right now.
Yeah.
That's actually used to be known as 708 State Street. Now it's 76 State Street. Because the lot. Oh, there's a subdivision. There's a whole story behind
So
that.
it's 76 states, well, we're gonna still leave you, because that's what Jasper said.
Yeah, so additional 1 unit, landscaping redesign, Rod will run through. The project is under construction. We expect it to be completed end of July, August. Applications are still coming in for the affordable units, market rate units.
How many affordable units are you in there?
I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I can get that information. For you. We just had a press release about the project. It was in the news, and that information was on those
We're
articles.
supposed to be 25.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
So Rod, if you just want to run through the changes, I can hold it up.
Sure. We created an overall map to show you what we're proposing versus what had been approved. Originally, there had been a lot of landscape shown in here due to the ideas of the landscape architect at the time. When we've looked back at this, the issue we've had on all our projects as well as sourcing materials. So we've in many places gone through a reduction of landscaping as was proposed, a change in the materials that were proposed. What's shown here in red is proposed to be removed. So there's also the green, which we're proposing to.
Green?
Yeah, I know, it's tough to see. So I can give you this. Green is proposed to be moved to phase 3 to build out. Part of that is to fit with the streetscape, the reconstruction inside of which we've designed and had approved, and that full build happens with phase 3. So the remote parking lot, as I call it, over across the firehouse, a similar thing.
Let me just ask a question, are you good for staying a little bit after 9?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna share this with you guys.
okay, go ahead. Because this is our policy. We decided to say we can't.
Yeah, that is a black and white version. Which we turned and made color because I couldn't even understand our black and white version.
That's black and white.
This one is, there is some red in here, and the red is what we're proposing to be removed. This is a little city parcel, there's nothing going on over here. This was really extensive bank of.
I saw it, you've already got the blacktop down on the parking lot.
I don't believe so. It's for construction staging right now.
Well, maybe I saw a different parking lot being built behind it.
Yeah, I think
It's
you're
like
right,
the
there's
blacktop.
there's some
Yeah.
blacktop placed in it.
Exactly.
So, that's obviously not fully complete as a parking lot. Again, we are proposing, hopefully remove some of the landscaping in there, and the reality, those trees are too tight for long-term life. So that really is what that parking lot is about. That applies somewhat to, if I can zip back to the other side. There's very tight landscaping proposed up against railroad tracks. Again, we wanted to eliminate that, the practical life of that is really difficult where it is, so. That's generally the story.
Why was it originally planned that way?
I think that our designer did a lot. And in retrospect, that some of that really should come off, so that some of the other.
Was it a part of like some sort of screening for noise or light or privacy?
No, that never came up. So this would be the third amendment to the project. That landscaping, it started off with a pool back there, I think was our first application to the board. Then that got changed because of feasibility. And so there was actually never any comments, and I could go back through the record, having that landscaping be some sort of buffer.
I'm just concerned because I would think a landscaper would know that a tree needs X amount of space in order to thrive. So why is it suddenly being reduced? And why was it put there if it served a purpose? So I'm trying to see.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I can go back through, this was years of my life that we all spent on this. And to see what that justification was. So we have that in the record. That's a good question.
Don't ask me, because I listened to Jim.
I don't remember. You were there though.
How do you know?
You were there.
But I was there too.
When we finished.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes, it is.
So you're gonna come back with that answer, right?
Yeah, we'll get that answer. And any other questions you guys have, the additional 2-bedroom unit, it was going to be for tenant storage. On the first floor, there's storage units for tenants. But there was a surplus of storage units, so there's no need for that much tenant storage. And so that's what's being transitioned into a unit.
How was it determined that there's too much storage?
The developers, based on market trends.
Too much storage, but were you gonna charge tenants for storage?
No, it's part of the rent.
Can you flip it over to the other side?
Yes.
And where's that located at?
Across the street, right?
This is Washington Street, Firehouse is
Right.
over here, State Street is down that way, so
You know, the
you know,
corner.
around the.
Right.
Which is the spot in front of.
There's an old, I think it was originally a blue maintenance building.
A garage.
Well, yeah,
Garage.
that's my mechanic.
Yeah.
Where's Sixth Street? No, Sixth Street.
6 would be, this is North 6, as you go down the hill towards the
Go down,
ravine.
no, right.
Right, so that's the street.
And that building is still there.
Building is still there, they're intending to keep it there.
You're gonna keep it there.
Yes.
And then that parking lot is, looking at the building is to the right.
The parking lot
Yes.
spaces of the firehouse.
Right.
The parking itself is part of the whole complicated calculation of original.
So that's a wide area there. Doesn't the hotel have property over there? Were they gonna lease it with the city, the pocketbook factory?
Yeah, they're gonna lease 40 spaces from, not you.
No,
From the
so
city.
you're gonna have the building, you're gonna have your parking lot, and the city's gonna have a parking lot. Next to your parking lot?
I would have to look up what the pocketbook factory plans are.
Their plans are to, they have to lease 40 spaces from the city.
And they were gonna construct that parking lot for the
Yes.
city?
I think as part of their pilot, they had to.
Okay.
Really?
In the back of the other parking?
No.
I don't remember them, I remember them, they're supposed to.
It's the area that's all gravel right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, I parked there the other day.
Yeah, probably, probably.
Yeah, what, yeah, that's a staging area for something.
Is your parking lot, is that parking lot gonna be lit?
I do not.
We should.
We can check.
Yeah, it should be.
Well, you approved it originally,
Well,
so.
I wasn't here.
No, I know, but for the amendment purposes, this is already approved, so, you know, in terms of, if you think it, like, so really, like, you're looking at landscaping and then the second unit, and I assume the second unit is why this wasn't a field change. I mean, this.
There are no field changes in the city of Hudson.
Okay, fair enough, that is why, but, so, I
I'd
mean,
love it.
they're not. I mean, you could ask for lighting if you would like, as always, but the focus of this is really just on the landscaping, so.
But if they don't have lighting and.
But you approved it, yes, you went on the planning board, but it was approved prior with no lighting. And
Was it?
I mean, I don't know, I have not looked at it.
I haven't, but it's, that was quite a while ago, even for me.
So we just gotta compare it, is what I'm saying, so like, they're not showing lighting, but they don't have to, because this is just the change on the landscaping.
Right.
So,
I will say that from memory, as much as there was no discussion of landscaping, there was a lot of focus of the board on lighting. So.
I'm sure they asked for lighting, cause it's dark over there.
It would be,
there's a lot
that's
of
my
notes on
concern.
it. Listen, I have a lot of notes in this drafting sheet about lighting, like a lot of notes on lighting, and lighting was definitely reviewed by the last bit.
Yes, because it's dark over there.
I wasn't here either.
We can simply, we can give you the approved plan and then you have it, but we can get the answer.
If you could resubmit it just to me for that, just so
Sure.
it's easy. Yeah, Craig does have it, it's somewhere, but it's easier to
Well,
just.
if on the off chance it doesn't have lighting, I think it should.
But, well, Dean has a question.
This is changing the landscaping, taking out those trees. And adding in some units. Taking away the storage area, and putting in living quarters.
Right.
No, you're taking it, no.
They're making one unit.
Right, you're adding additional unit?
Adding additionally, going from 63 to 64 in this building.
Okay, all right. I thought you were.
By way you're taking out the storage.
Yeah, a portion of the storage area.
Okay.
On the first floor.
They're taking the trees away from the parking. Right?
From the
No,
back, the rear, within the
And
courtyard.
why,
next to it.
From the edge of this big gravel right over here.
yeah, I'm trying to think in the back.
But you're saying you're de-densifying the trees, you're not removing all of them,
No.
you're just lessening.
Right, there's portion of that, some around the center in here, around the interior between sitting area and the building itself. Are requested to be removed, but not along the outer edge, trees. Just defer to full road work, finishing the phase.
You gotta give us the,
And you're, go ahead, I'm sorry.
and before that happens, we wanna know what were the trees there for.
Right.
in the First place.
Along this edge here by the tracks. Yeah, we'll take a look into that history of the documents.
Cause those you're not de-densifying, you're just removing those.
Along the railroad tracks, that's right.
Yeah, that's a good point, cause now. Is there fencing there in the back there? Like what's preventing, if there were kids playing, what would be preventing them from being by the
Okay,
track?
my notes say, we'll add a 24-inch planter around the CSX track, CSX says it's too close, safety concerns.
That's for the brewery.
That was on.
That was on the other side.
That was a long, drawn out process between us. and
Okay, so it's not on this side, so I see the railroad tracks all the way down.
Phase one trucks go, and they get further away from property as you go. And if I recall correctly, they created these custom planters.
Yes.
So the safety, those, you're not taking, just to check, so you're not taking out the planters that were for safety, these are just trees, okay.
Right, but what is, if tenants have kids, what's the barrier between the end of those apartments and the train tracks?
That's the information we're gonna get for you.
Right.
The problem with the brewery that we discussed was the platform or the deck. Right.
Too close to the track. Right, I remember.
Yeah, that's my notes are very clear that that was way too close.
And we thought that the people that was practice were weigh in, they did, but that's a listen to.
I remember that.
Any more questions?
So the board has a couple options. So I talked to county planning today, they don't think this needs to be referred, I did draft a resolution to bring from seeker and to refer to county planning. For this application, I talked to Patricia Perry today, she said it's up to the board whether they wanna get, if they want comments. Due to the screening issue, if you want maybe county to look into screening, you can, or they have record of their original comments, I did not look. I can for the next meeting, so you can re-refer if you'd like, and then this is not required to go to public hearing, you are of course always welcome to set the public hearing. So it's up to the board how they want to proceed, or you can do nothing tonight and just wait for the next submission.
No.
What do you say, Luana?
What?
No.
You gotta say, well, I guess, no, we have.
If you're gonna refer to public, I will say, if you're gonna refer to county, they won't get it till their June county planning board meeting, so if you wanna refer to the county, I refer to the county now. That's one time constraint, you're gonna wait 2 months to get those back.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I don't think we need to refer to it.
does everybody agree? Okay, county, now do you wanna do,
You can reaffirm seeker tonight if you'd like.
wanna reaffirm seeker or and have a public hearing for this, or not have a public hearing for this?
No, I want the additional information for we from secret.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an additional, how about a public hearing?
Yes.
Will?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So,
Yeah, you could reaffirm seeker before, it just has to be done before approval, so you can do it whenever.
that's so we voted not to
Prudent
have a
choice.
public hearing, so I have to, do I have to do a motion on that?
No, you're all good to go, just
Okay.
resubmit, I assume you want to be on the June agenda?
Yeah, we'll get this stuff.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
How many comments, that's helpful, I have to dig through the files.
I'm sure I have some.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Okay. Good. All right, that's it. Now we have other business, let's get through with. Okay, does anybody on the planet would have any questions, reports they want to submit, anything? This is an open time for us to talk among ourselves about anything. We don't get much time.
What about a member that didn't show up?
Oh, you're talking about the one that hasn't been here for the last four meetings?
Been for any meetings.
Yeah, well, I talked to the mayor about that and,
When you talk to the mayor, he said that he is trying to get a letter of resignation
from
the individual.
Isn't there something in the bylaws or?
I think it's 2 meetings. If they miss the meeting.
But I don't even think he was sworn in, so I don't know if you needed
I
another
thought
resignation.
Veronica took his place and Ginny's is still open, was I have it backwards?
I think so, yeah.
So she is the replacement.
I think initially that's what they thought they were going to do, because when I came here, they were like, no, you can't do it that way, because you need to submit a letter of resignation. So they put me in the other open.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah,
But
but he's been absent for 4 meetings,
So-
consecutively.
I understand, so, I mean, that's up to the mayor appoints, and the mayor has control of who's on the board, so this, while it's fine to discuss them on the planning board, it's not something you have control over. And the only thing it matters for is whose appointment you took, because I don't know when Ginny was up versus when, so that's the only reason it matters is when your appointment term is, so we should get that straightened out. I need to get that straightened out to make sure when we go to reappoint, everything makes sense in timeline. You're staggered for cost, so. So if you took the rest of Ginny's term, is very different than you did the rest of the other term.
Okay.
My question, if he didn't swear, if he wasn't sworn in, I mean, the appointment is an offer,
The appointment is an offer, the swearing in.
it is the confirmation, I don't think,
Confirmation.
so I don't think you did that, so I don't think you need a resignation
He was
for
sworn
somebody.
in. Sworn in.
Um,
Yeah, because he got an email address. You don't get an email address until you're sworn in.
Something must have, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I didn't know that.
And I don't know, so that's a
Okay, I'll
city
tell you what
internal
happened.
policy, whether or not he needs an internal.
He switched his job, as soon as he got appointed to the planning board, his job switched to night, so that's why he couldn't.
So, yeah, we should get a letter, it should be simple.
Well, you should get a clarification, when you got your offer letter, it should say which term you're taking. Yeah, so we'll reach out.
We'll reach out to you.
So he hasn't been at any meeting since he's been appointed. So there's something in writing, which I've seen, I don't remember where. The missed 3 meetings are off the pen.
Yes, it's internal procedure.
But you have to start the process, that's a process.
It's the mayor's letter.
Oh, the mayor's letter.
I don't even know if I have it, but it's internal to the mayor.
Okay.
But is there a process?
Well, I did speak to him today.
Yeah,
and
it
he said
is,
he's
because
waiting.
Ben, I do have emails from the mayor from Ben, because Ben was forced to, unfortunately, due to his wife's health concerns, was forced to leave the board.
Right.
So, you know, that's when that 3 rule, because he just couldn't come and take care of it, you know, significant health.
But he wrote a letter.
But he officially resigned.
Right.
Yes, so that's what the man said, he has officially resigned in writing.
Well,
But
we
not-
have his phone number.
not if there's something in writing that
No, I'm
says
pretty
he's
sure.
automatically.
I think the mayor can remove him, but it's up to the mayor, so this is like a mayor.
Do we have his phone number? Can we just call?
No,
him? Then we get this, handle it quickly.
Do we have your phone number?
yeah,
It's unlisted.
no, I don't have his phone number, but the mayor was here and I did speak to him about that, he said that he has to resign the record. And that's his call, and until he does, we still have that person that's missing. So,
We'll have to change it.
and I don't think anybody on the board knows that.
No.
All right, so, you know,
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
no, we're not finished, okay? Now, we did our questions, concerns, you on the ADI, you have any report for us?
On the IDA, what's going on?
IDA, you have any report for us?
I'll submit my report, I'll do it on this one night,
Okay,
I wasn't prepared.
all right, now escrow, that's Jean's,
No, we'll do bills first. Bills,
bills. Motion.
Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at us?
we don't wait, afraid to get these out of around strong. I wanna see the details.
This always slows down the meeting.
Would you be glad to do that? It's something to do up to me. Barney Lagunas, dated 5/7/2025, $5,016.25. Road and housing. Polidoro, dated 5/7/2025, $2,037.50.
Can I get a motion to approve the bills?
I make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now she's gonna do escrow.
Escrow, all the accounts are in the black. Good. Oh. Except 2.
All the accounts are good, except for 2.
Get out of the way.
They're not.
601 Newton Street. They're minus $622.50.
So I sent the resolution around, you just gotta tell me about what I'm doing.
Okay, can I
I
get,
don't understand what are, what are these.
Escrow accounts are, we hire consultants and attorneys, and they do work on it, they submit a bill.
Okay, so this is a bill for a particular property.
Right, so the applicants, they have to pay that bill.
Oh,
We
I
go
see.
against escrow, think of it like a
It's an
retainer.
escrow. So, and each have to submit a bill just to that.
So I still don't have that sidewalk easement, so it's another conversation. I'm still waiting. That project needs a sidewalk easement and I still don't have it, I have to review it.
601 Union Street minus $622.50.
What
so
project?
we want to, yeah, so can I get a?
Oh, you mean for the
Yeah,
term?
I still don't have the sidewalk easement, I'll look in my email, but I didn't.
Can I get a vote for a resolution for 601 to replenish the escrow, and what amount we wanna do?
Is it gonna be more work on this?
You say 1,000 for me to go through and then the city has to approve the easement, it's a little bit of work.
1,500.
Are you finished with them?
Yeah, I want nothing else to do.
15.
What do you say?
2,000, then actually 7,000.
Did they get a new check? The bounce?
Cause they're already 500 or 600 in the hole,
Oh.
Oh, then definitely do, like,
yeah,
There's 600 in the hole.
there's 600 in the hole now,
2,000 is fine.
right?
Oh, no, that just puts us where we gotta be to leave 25 then.
Come on, let's go.
What do you want?
Okay,
You want
can I
$2,000,
get
And they're already 600 and all.
Okay,
How much you want?
25.
okay, so can I get a motion to, that 601 Union Street replenishes their escrow in the amount of $2,500?
Make motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so 601. 601 is, 601 is what? 2,500.
You did 2,500?
Yeah, and who's the first one? Who's, it's random.
Random.
You second it?
Who's second?
Veronica.
Veronica.
8 and 10 Van Winkle Road.
So they never established escrow. So that is just, like, we did vote to establish, but they haven't established, that's just gonna be outstanding for now. We'll have to discuss it offline about what to do if when projects like that happen.
Was that the lot line guy?
Yeah,
That was
that's the townhome guy, and then they returned their application.
They came in, we established escrow, they're gonna review,
Did a full review, and then,
Hold that.
pulled out before they put any money.
yeah, I don't even think we submitted our bills for it, so just hold off on that. Yeah, I did, I don't believe my firm did, so.
Yeah, both firms. Okay. So any more, let's go.
No, we're done.
Not for that, wait a minute, now we have to approve, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for March 11th? And April 8th, and, yeah, so what was that, May 6th?
I make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, now can I get a
Wait, did
motion?
you abstain? You can't abstain.
Wow.
Vote.
You don't wanna move the minutes?
I haven't reviewed them.
Okay, so which one haven't you reviewed?
Fine.
I mean, because,
Let's try to
I
give
mean,
a hard time.
she gave us the minutes like the next day.
Now, we have to revote on it. Now we have to re-motion it and revote it.
Yeah,
Right, okay. A motion to approve the minutes from March 11th, April 8th, and May 6th.
I make a motion.
All in. Any opposed? Okay, motion approved. Okay, so can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, adjourn. So we're adjourning at what time?
9:21.
9:20.